Phoenix Crest Manor blazed with lights. By the time the nominal husband and wife arrived, it was already 10:30. After parking the car, Isabelle Thorne got out first, standing aside to wait for Ethan Vance. That notorious playboy languidly opened his door, extended a hand, and slurred, "Help me." Isabelle didn't budge. Ethan said playfully, "Wifey, this is Vance territory. You need to play the part. Don't call me that." Isabelle shot him a glare, reluctantly stepping forward and tugging at his sleeve to pull him out. "Wifey, you're hurting me." Isabelle. After a considerable struggle to extract him from the car, Isabelle didn't let go. Seemingly supporting him, but in reality, just gripping his clothes, they walked side by side towards the grand hall. Before they even reached the entrance, they saw Mr. Watkins, the old butler, helping the family patriarch, Theodore Vance, out. A crowd of Vance family members, senior and junior, followed. "I'm getting old. You all carry on, The old man trailed off as his gaze landed on Ethan, his face instantly turning ashen. The others also froze. Seeing his son in such a drunken state, Victor Vance hurried forward and asked Isabelle, "What? Is he drunk?" Isabelle forced herself to explain. "He had a business dinner." The moment she said it, a wave of ridicule rippled through the group. Business dinner? More like painting the town red. Cut him some slack. I mean, the guy was so broke he was driving for Uber. Suddenly, he's acknowledged by the family, a bona fide trust fund kid again. Of course, he's going to blow off some steam. Rags to riches overnight, they all act like this. Theodore Vance had 2 sons and 1 daughter. Victor Vance was the youngest son. Ethan's paternal aunt, Cassandra, was the middle child, and Ethan's eldest uncle was the firstborn. The ones speaking just now were Cassandra's son and daughter. Ethan smirked. "You 2 outsiders seem to know me so well." Then, before the pair could yap any further, he turned to his grandfather and opened his mouth. Well, Grandpa, you're still..." Victor coughed frantically, a desperate attempt to stop his wayward son from saying something truly outrageous. Ethan glanced askance at his father, a glint of mischief in his eyes, and continued, "You're still quite spry. Ethan, if you're drunk, go rest. Don't provoke your grandfather." The speaker was Theodore Vance's eldest son, Harrison Vance. Compared to Cassandra's less-than-promising children, Ethan's cousin was far more outstanding. Now in his prime at 30, he exuded a noble and refined aura, impeccably mannered, yet his eyes often betrayed a glint of severity, a commanding presence that didn't require him to raise his voice. "Big brother," Ethan hiccuped, slurring, "haven't seen you in over a decade. You're looking more polished than ever. Let me tell you, I'm back to fight you and your dad for the inheritance." A chilling silence fell over the crowd. Isabelle's eyes widened, her palms instantly slick with cold sweat. "This damn man, is he trying to get himself killed?" she thought. Victor trembled. "Son, what nonsense are you spouting?" Isabelle, quickly, help him to bed. "Okay." However, the next moment, Ethan doubled over and began to retch violently. Theodore Vance, his face a mask of fury, cursed, "Worthless fool," and strode away. The others, with varying degrees of mockery and sarcasm, made a few comments before returning to the grand hall, not even waiting for Ethan to finish. With no outsiders present, a flicker of almost imperceptible cunning flashed in Victor's eyes. He patted his son's back and said to Isabelle, "Go get some rest." With the help of Lily, a maid, Isabelle half-dragged, half-supported her damn husband back to Victor's private courtyard within the manor. The moment they entered the living room, her patience snapped. She unceremoniously dumped Ethan onto the sofa. Ethan banged his foot, his eyes narrowed. "Wifey, you hurt me." Isabelle ignored him, not even bothering to glance his way. "Lily, I feel for young Mr. Vance, but I'm not saying a word." Isabelle took a breath, then looked at Lily. Her expression was its usual cool composure, but her tone was polite. "Hello, which room am I in?" Lily replied. "Mrs. Vance, you and Mr. Ethan will be in the guest bedroom upstairs. Are any other bedrooms available?" "I'd prefer to sleep alone," Isabelle stated calmly. "Well." Lily looked extremely troubled, wondering if Mr. Ethan's drinking had angered his wife. She snuck a glance at Ethan, who seemed to have no objection, so she nodded. "Please wait a moment, Mrs. Vance. I'll prepare another room for you, along with a nightgown and toiletries." "Thank you, that's very kind." As soon as Lily went upstairs, Ethan sat up, looked at Isabelle with a roguish grin, and drawled, "Can't stand me." Isabelle had no energy to deal with this drunken dog. She stood with her back to him, arms crossed. Suddenly, she felt a searing heat press against her back, and simultaneously, a pair of hands wrapped tightly around her waist. Ethan's voice, magnetic and seductive, whispered in her ear, "Wifey, how about we make up for that wedding night tonight?" Isabelle stiffened. The next second, as if electrocuted, she jolted, her arms straining to break free. But being a woman, her strength was clearly insufficient. "Ethan Vance, let go of me." Isabelle practically screamed the words. "Ethan, ask me nicely. Let go. Ethan Vance, don't touch me. Let go." Ethan could clearly feel the woman in his arms begin to tremble. "Such an overreaction, don't you think? We're both adults. Lighten up." As he spoke, he turned Isabelle around and leaned over her, pressing the Ice Queen down onto the sofa. Isabelle struggled violently, her face drained of color, her eyes filled with terror. "Don't touch me. Don't touch me," Ethan said nonchalantly. "I told you. Ask me nicely. Is it that hard?" Isabelle pressed one hand against Ethan's chest, the other fumbling blindly on the coffee table. When they'd entered, she'd seen a fruit knife there. "Get off. Get off. Don't touch me. Ethan Vance, I'm begging you, don't touch me. Don't touch me." As she spoke these words, Isabelle's pupils contracted abruptly, her gaze growing unfocused, tears streaming down her face as if she'd plunged into an even deeper terror. Her fear. It was almost abnormal. Ethan froze. He hadn't even done anything. Was such a dramatic reaction necessary? She was acting more virtuous than a saint. In that moment of his hesitation, a glint of cold metal flashed in his peripheral vision. "Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Get away. Don't touch me." Isabelle was in a bizarre state, trembling violently, her eyes darting around, a hint of mania in them. In her trembling left hand, she gripped a fruit knife, its blade stained with blood. Ethan had already sat up straight. A gash had been sliced across the chest of his white shirt, and a crimson stain was slowly spreading. If he hadn't dodged quickly, it would have been more than a superficial wound. The playboy's nonchalant expression vanished. He frowned, stepping aside, watching Isabelle, who was still in an agitated state, a thoughtful look on his face. After a long moment, Isabelle's composure gradually returned. Seeing the bloody knife in her hand, she cried out and dropped it to the floor. Ethan's tongue pressed against his back molars. He said gravely, "Attempted murder of your own husband? Isabelle, now I'm angry." Isabelle wiped the tears from her cheeks and said coldly, "Get out. Ethan Vance, I never want to see you again. You're an animal." Ethan loosened his collar, turned to Lily who was hovering at the staircase, and snapped, "Take care of Mrs. Vance. I'm sleeping in the grand hall." After a long while on the sofa, Isabelle's emotions finally began to stabilize. She took a sip of water Lily offered her, then picked up her bag, intending to go home. Lily quickly tried to dissuade her. "Mrs. Vance, you don't call me that." Isabelle cut Lily off and walked resolutely towards the door. Just as she reached the entrance hall, Victor Vance happened to push aside the door curtain and enter. "Isabelle, what's this? Did that little hellion upset you again?" Isabelle sniffled, her face cold. "Uncle Victor, I want to go home." Victor pursed his lips. "It's New Year's, and so late. What are you going home for? Come talk to me for a bit." "No, I really want to go home," Isabelle insisted. "You child." Victor frowned, glanced at Lily standing behind Isabelle, and said, "You can go." Then, he guided his daughter-in-law towards the living room. "Sweetheart, I know you've been wronged. Come, don't be hasty. I have something to tell you." Isabelle naturally couldn't refuse Victor Vance repeatedly. They sat on the sofa, and Victor spoke first. "Sweetheart, do you really dislike Ethan that much?" Isabelle pressed her lips together, not responding. "Dislike? I want to kill him. Sigh. You, my dear, you've been fooled by him. He's deliberately making you dislike him." Isabelle raised an eyebrow, a puzzled look in her eyes. Victor said earnestly, "You don't know. Ethan had a very difficult childhood. He lived with his mother until he was 6, then I brought him back. He lived in the Vance family under the stigma of being an illegitimate son. On the surface, we seemed like a family, but in reality, he was like an outsider living under someone else's roof." Isabelle was thoroughly confused. Victor continued, "When he was little, he was bullied constantly, especially by his grandfather, who would beat him every few days. I asked him if he hated the Vance family. Guess what he said?" Isabelle shook her head. He said, "As an outsider, I always feel constrained in your Vance family. Even feel like I'm taking advantage of you, often feeling guilty. But when you bully me, I don't feel that way anymore. I feel much more at ease, like it's justified. Anyway, I won't stay with the Vances in the future. I'll repay my debt of guilt to the Vance family with my resentment." Isabelle was perplexed. "What kind of logic is that? I don't quite understand." Victor smiled. "It's simple. Let me ask you, Do you feel like your Thorn family owes me a lot, so you always feel uncomfortable around me, and you endure any difficulties without telling me? Isabelle bit her lip, not denying it. But Ethan is different. He often provokes you, so you don't feel guilty about troubling him. Just as he said, repaying debt with resentment. It's a subconscious, psychological mechanism you probably haven't noticed yet. To put it bluntly, that boy empathizes with your current situation and wants to make you feel a bit better, so you don't always feel indebted to the Vance family. Hearing this explanation, Isabelle was stunned. Thinking back on Ethan's actions during this period, apart from tonight, he hadn't really done anything outrageous to her. At most, his sharp tongue had angered her. Even tonight, in the end, he had only hugged her. Seeing his daughter-in-law's skeptical expression, Victor chuckled and continued. Don't look at Ethan's wild and unrestrained nature now. When he was little, he was very quiet. He spent his days either practicing calligraphy or reading, and his favorite books were history books. His mind is deep, which is inseparable from reading those classics. Loves to read and write. Isabelle almost had, "Are you talking about that playboy who lives a life of debauchery every day?" written on her face. "I'm not lying to you," Victor said, sighing. "If it weren't for what happened later." "Sigh, forget it. Let's not talk about that." Isabelle had investigated Ethan before and knew he had disappeared for 7 or 8 years. Though what happened later Victor mentioned was probably the reason for his disappearance. As for what exactly it was, Isabelle was somewhat curious but not particularly interested. Instead, she pondered Victor's words, "His mind is deep." If his mind is truly deep, how could he be so reckless with his words? How could he flaunt his dates with celebrities and influencers so openly? On such an important day like today, how could he get dead drunk? It's more likely he's an idiot. As she thought, Isabelle suddenly understood something and said in astonishment, "Was he pretending to be drunk tonight? Were those words all intentional?" At the beginning, Ethan had been completely intoxicated, but after she cut him, he suddenly seemed perfectly sober. It was clearly an act. What she didn't know was that the playboy had simply been startled by her extreme reaction and had momentarily forgotten to continue his charade. Victor smiled. "Figured it out?" "Heh. Actually, from the first day he entered the Vance family, he's been playing dumb." Isabelle could easily guess. Is it for the inheritance? Theodore Vance was now in his twilight years, his health declining day by day. The unspoken secret of his 3 children vying for the family assets had long been common knowledge. This was a trial most wealthy families went through. Kinship, in the face of enormous benefits, was merely a tool for scheming. Victor nodded, lowering his voice slightly. A wise man keeps his powder dry and waits for the right time to strike. The more of a scoundrel he appears to be now, the safer he is. My overbearing sister, who's thrown her weight around for most of her life, will only focus her attention on Harrison Vance. Heh, let them fight it out first. Ethan, he needs to make a grand entrance at the finale. Speaking of domineering, Cassandra Vance, the second daughter of the Vance family, was undoubtedly a force to be reckoned with. Putting aside other matters, the mere fact that she had tyrannically driven her own husband and mother-in-law to their deaths was enough to label her as arrogant and imperious. Besides, Victor continued, a father knows his son best. I can tell you for sure that his being late and drunk tonight, apart from acting the fool, was also for your sake. You have a cold personality. You definitely feel awkward and uncomfortable around our large family. Moreover, his Aunt Cassandra never minces her words. She can be very harsh and would inevitably make you feel bad. So, if it weren't for you, he wouldn't have needed to be late. Given his temperament, he probably would have been eager to come early tonight and curse out everyone in the Vance family from top to bottom. Isabelle found it hard to accept. The shameless, despicable dogman in her mind actually had such a considerate side. Seeing his daughter-in-law's complex, thoughtful expression, Victor knew he'd said enough. Isabelle, now that everything's out in the open, you're not still planning to go home, are you? Heh, stay here and rest easy. Otherwise, the old man will be displeased, and you should go pay your respects to him tomorrow. Oh, and from now on, you can't call me uncle anymore. You have to call me dad, understand? I truly see you as my daughter-in-law. This old father had certainly worried himself sick over his son's marriage. Seeing Isabelle's somewhat awkward expression, he quickly corrected himself. No, 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 my dear daughter, my dear daughter. Some things couldn't be rushed. I understand, Vic. Dad, Isabelle said awkwardly. Victor stood up, beaming. Yes, good, good. Hurry up and rest. Heh, it's getting late. Dad won't disturb you anymore. Due to sleeping in an unfamiliar room and having a heavy heart, Isabelle tossed and turned, only falling asleep in the dead of night. When she woke up, it was already past 9, almost 10. Sleeping in so late on her first night staying at her in-laws' place, Isabelle couldn't help but feel a chill run down her spine. The wealthier the family, the more they emphasized those tedious formalities. Moreover, she had married an unpopular, illegitimate son. She should be treading on thin ice. After hastily washing up, the beautiful Sophie nervously opened the door, peeked her head out, and saw that the hallway was empty. The entire house was quiet. Looks like those two aren't here. Isabelle sighed, slightly in relief, stepped out of the room, and thought about calling Victor to ask. Since it was so late, maybe she wouldn't have to go pay respects to the old man. Finding an excuse to slip away and leave this troublesome place was the right choice. However, just as she reached the top of the stairs, she suddenly froze. In the living room, Victor Vance, Ethan, and a small, blonde, blue-eyed doll of a girl, Lucy Vance, were kneeling in a neat, straight row. On the sofa opposite them, Theodore Vance sat ramrod straight, his wrinkled face a mask of cold fury. "Young Mrs. Vance, you're awake." Mr. Watkins, standing beside the sofa, glanced towards the staircase, his expression impassive. Isabelle couldn't help but shiver. Steeling herself, she walked towards the living room, her steps heavy and slow. When she reached them, she timidly lowered her head and greeted Theodore, "Grandpa." Theodore didn't even look at her. He calmly picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip. The meaning was obvious. He didn't acknowledge Isabelle at all. Isabelle stood there awkwardly, unsure whether to stay or go. After a long moment, the old man picked up the cane beside him, walked around behind Victor, and snapped, "You're over 50, and all you know is chasing skirts. For children, and not a single one is worth a damn. Is this how you act as a father?" With that, he struck Victor sharply on the back twice with a cane. Victor, hands braced on the floor, muttered, "Dad, I was wrong." Isabelle was stunned by this scene, and at the same time felt a twinge of sympathy for Victor. It was one thing for his son not to respect him, but at his age he still had to endure beatings from his own father. Sigh. The old man shuffled forward 2 steps and stood behind Ethan, his tone laced with sarcasm. "You're quite a chip off the old block, aren't you? Almost 30, and what can you do besides spend money? I never should have agreed to let you back into the Vance family. Useless trash." Ethan took 2 solid hits from the cane, his body as still as a statue. Just as the old man was about to let him off, the scoundrel inexplicably chuckled and said cheekily, "No strength." "Isabelle, you little bastard." The old man swung the cane, striking him hard 7 or 8 times. Little Lucy, beside them, flinched, squeezed her eyes shut, and trembled. "Old man," Ethan said, still kneeling straight, a devilish smirk on his face, "you've really gotten old. 10 whacks from that, and it doesn't hurt as much as 1 from when I was a kid." "Holding a grudge?" The old man's voice grew colder. "Or are you just waiting for me to die?" Victor looked at his son. "Ethan, don't anger your grandfather." Ethan twitched his lips. "Birth, old age, sickness, and death are natural laws. What difference does it make if I wish for it or not?" Isabelle was once again floored. Mr. Watkins strode forward, stood beside Ethan, and said angrily, "Young master, you truly need to be disciplined." With that, he swung his arm and slapped Ethan hard across the face. Smack! Ethan turned his head, glaring at the old butler with cold, devilish eyes. He ran his tongue over the corner of his lip, licked away a trace of blood, and spat it onto the floor. "You think you can fight for the inheritance with this attitude? Heh, compared to your cousins, you worthless trash are far behind. Ahem. I'm telling you, stop embarrassing the Vance name out there." Theodore scolded, then walked over to little Lucy. "Lucy, hold out your hand." The little doll immediately burst into tears, whimpering, "Grandpa, I'll never put little bugs in your teapot again. You have my word." The old man was both amused and exasperated. He took the little girl's hand and smiled. "Come on, play chess with Grandpa." "Heh, little one, don't play with bugs anymore. They might bite you, understand? Grandpa, I want a hug." "Boo-hoo." Lucy's eyes welled with tears, but her other hand clutched the $1,000,000 jade signet ring on Theodore's thumb. She pouted, "I want this toy." Without a moment's hesitation, the old man removed the ring and placed it in his granddaughter's palm, saying dotingly, "Grandpa can't carry you anymore. Be good." All right, stop crying, Grandpa will hug you." Indeed, no man on earth could escape the charm of his beloved little girl. Ethan watched the old man's shuffling figure, a fleetingly complex expression in his eyes. Only after his grandfather had left the room did he dare to stand up. Isabelle also breathed a sigh of relief and hurried to help Victor up. "Oh, Isabelle, I've made a fool of myself in front of you today." Victor's legs were sore and numb from kneeling for so long, and he gently massaged them. Isabelle didn't know how to respond, so she said nothing. "Son, is your face okay? That Watkins really doesn't know his own strength." Ethan licked the corner of his lip, his eyes flickering, and didn't reply. After a moment, he glanced at Isabelle, a half-smile on his face. Leaving, Isabelle nodded and said goodbye to Victor. Once in the car, neither of them spoke. Ethan rubbed his temples, lost in thought. Isabelle started the car, glancing intentionally or unintentionally at Ethan's chest. "Your wound. Is it okay?" Ethan lifted his eyelids, his eyes tinged with suspicion. Guilt or fear? Isabelle pouted, somewhat embarrassed. "I'm sorry." Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Ethan was even more puzzled. Judging by Isabelle's extreme reaction last night, it seemed she wanted him dead. Why was she apologizing now? This wasn't her style. "If you're afraid I'll file for divorce over this, there's no need. I'm not that petty." Isabelle's red lips moved. "That's not what I mean." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Then, it's just a simple apology." "No need. We're not close." Isabelle. As the car drove out of Phoenix Crest Manor, Isabelle finally remembered to ask, "Where are you going?" Ethan looked out the window and said lazily, "Emerald Lake Estates." After a pause, he added, "If it's too much trouble, just drop me by the roadside. I'll get an Uber." Isabelle remained silent. If this had been before, she would have pulled over without hesitation and kicked this damn man out of the car. It was clear that Victor's heartfelt talk last night had had an immediate effect. Perhaps out of guilt, Isabelle found herself asking, "Is your face okay?" The moment the words left her mouth, the beautiful woman regretted them. Ethan was astonished. He frowned, studying Isabelle, and said suspiciously, "Are you possessed? Why are you so talkative today?" Isabelle said coolly, "Then I'll shut up." Is this concern for me?" "Ethan Vance, try to be a decent human being." "I'm not good at being decent, but I'm damn good in bed." "Go to hell." Disgusting. Any nascent positive feeling was instantly nipped in the bud. Just as they were bickering, Milo called Ethan. "Got news on Tina Chun. 2 months ago, she was scammed out of money and sexually assaulted by some lowlife. She was tricked into taking out a predatory loan. The loan company's people assaulted her, 4 of them. They were all arrested the night before last, but released last night due to insufficient evidence." Ethan clicked his tongue. "Why didn't you tell me last night? It was New Year's Eve. Information was hard to come by." Ethan was silent for a moment, then said coolly, "I need all the information on these 4 individuals, including this loan company. Give me half an hour." After hanging up, Ethan's expression darkened. "Pull over." Isabelle glanced at him and stopped the car by the roadside. Ethan got out, dialing Kevin Chin's number while saying to Isabelle, "You can go back. I'll get an Uber." Isabelle didn't know who had called him or what had happened. But adhering to the "we're not close" principle, she didn't ask, leaving Ethan alone and driving off. Kevin Chin's phone connected on the second try. Ethan feigned ignorance. "Kev, is your grill open? I'm craving your specialty lamb ribs." No response from the other end. "Hello? Kev?" Bad signal. "Kev?" Ethan called out several times. Just as he was about to hang up and redial, a woman's sobbing came from the other end. This is his wife. He's in the hospital. Boo-hoo. Ethan's heart tightened. It wasn't hard to guess that this stubborn guy had probably gone looking for revenge himself and gotten beaten up. He quickly asked, "Which hospital?" The woman sobbed, "Port Sterling General, Metro Annex, ICU. He's still unconscious." "That's serious? What happened?" "Boo-hoo. They bullied him. They're bullies. They're gangsters, totally lawless." "Mr. Vance, I know you're not an ordinary person. Can you, for old time's sake with Kev, please help us?" "Gangsters? Kev's so honest. How could he provoke people like that?" "Don't get agitated. Wait for me. I'm coming over right now." Ethan put on a convincing act, flagging down a cab with one hand while calling Benny with the other. "Bring Jax. Meet me at Port Sterling General, Metro Annex." Benny, on the other end, sounded groggy, as if still asleep. "Metro Annex? What Metro Annex? You don't know? How about you go check yourself in there tonight?" Ethan's voice was ice cold. Benny was instantly awake. "Coming right now." When Ethan Vance arrived at Port Sterling General, Metro Annex, Benny and Jax were already waiting at the main entrance. Just then, Milo sent over the detailed information on the 4 scumbags from the loan company, along with 3 words. "Want me to handle it?" Ethan pondered for a moment, replied, "No need," then assigned tasks to Benny and Jax before heading into the hospital. Reaching the ICU floor, Ethan stepped out of the elevator and saw 4 or 5 police officers standing at the entrance to the intensive care unit. Among them, a strikingly beautiful policewoman in uniform, with minimal makeup yet undeniably stunning, was speaking to Kevin Chen's wife, Sarah, with a troubled expression and earnest persuasion. Sarah, I need you to trust us, the police. If you keep holding back the truth, we can't proceed with our investigation, understand? Sarah Chun sat on a bench in the corridor, fists clenched, biting her lip in silence for a moment before saying, Officer, my husband just accidentally fell from upstairs. Really? The policewoman sighed, patiently saying, the hospital's report clearly states that Kevin has 3 distinct marks on the back of his head from being struck by a blunt object. Sarah, why do you insist he fell? Where are you hiding? The policewoman paused, suddenly noticing something. She took a sharp breath and asked, Where's Tina Chun? Upon hearing Tina Chun, Sarah's expression immediately became unnatural. She hesitated for a moment, then said, Resting at home. Another young officer frowned. Her brother's in this state, and she's resting at home? Does that make sense to you? Where is Tina Chun? You. The policewoman raised a hand, cutting off her colleague. She bent down, leaned close to Sarah's ear, and whispered, Did they kidnap Tina and threaten you? Sarah looked up, her eyes suddenly welling with moisture. Her clenched hands were white at the knuckles from the force. No, no. From her change in demeanor, it was clear that Tina was very likely kidnapped. Though the policewoman, Detective Eva Rostova, was extremely anxious, she was also helpless. As deputy squad leader of the Detective Bureau's Major Crimes Unit, she had seen too many similar situations. For instance, in kidnapping and extortion cases, the victim's family, fearing for the victim's safety, would refuse to cooperate with the police, allowing criminals to lead them by the nose. This not only created unnecessary difficulties for the police, but often ended in tragedy, with both life and money lost. After staring at Sarah for a while, Eva stepped back and said flatly, Since it was an accident, we won't open a case. Take good care of your husband. Sorry to disturb you. With that, she led her team towards the elevator. However, upon seeing Ethan leaning nonchalantly against the elevator entrance, Detective Rostova stopped short. Her expression, after a flicker of astonishment, quickly turned cold again. They passed each other, distant and aloof. Inside the elevator, a young officer asked doubtfully, Captain, are we really dropping it? This case clearly has issues. How about you guys head back to the precinct, and I'll try talking to her again? No need, Eva said, her red lips parting, a sharp glint in her eyes. You guys come with me. We're going directly to question those suspects. The young officer was shocked. Captain, isn't that against procedure? The family hasn't filed a report. Us going to their homes to investigate, especially during the New Year holiday, we're bound to get complaints. If you're afraid of complaints, go push paper. Eva said coolly, This case is urgent. I'm certain now that Tina Chun is with those suspects. The sooner we solve this case, the safer she'll be, understand? The young officer pouted. Got it, Captain. Hey, did you know that guy from earlier? He kept staring at you with that smirk. A complex emotion flickered in Eva's eyes. She answered indirectly, Get a plainclothes officer here. Keep a close watch on Sarah Chun. Whether she takes a call or meets anyone, have him report immediately. Also, call the tech department and have them tap Sarah's phone. The young officer's eyes widened. Captain, shouldn't we apply for a warrant first? Eva snapped. It's New Year's Day. Where are we going to apply for a warrant? Use your head. Just tell them I have the warrant in hand and to proceed. If anything goes wrong, I'll take full responsibility. The young officer knew his captain's decisive nature and said no more, nodding. Understood. Meanwhile, when Sarah Chun saw Ethan, she abruptly stood up, tears streaming down her face. Mr. Van. Before she could finish, Ethan grasped her hand, tapped his index finger on her wrist, and gently shook his head. He asked with concern, How's Kevin? Sarah paused, thinking for a moment before understanding Ethan's meaning. Someone was probably watching her. With this thought, she instinctively started to turn her head. Ethan squeezed her hand, his expression unchanged, and said in a voice only they could hear, Don't move. Just talk to me normally. Sarah, trembling and stiff, stammered, Kevin. He was badly injured. The doctor said he's still not out of danger. Sigh. Ethan feigned a sigh, leading Sarah by the hand towards the doctor's office. As they passed the bench, he glanced sideways at a man sitting there, holding a magazine. He noticed a tattoo on the man's wrist. Not police, I see. They found the attending physician, who told Ethan that Kevin's condition was not optimistic. The brain damage was too severe. Even if his life was saved, he would very likely be in a vegetative state, with little chance of waking up. A chill ran down Ethan's spine. Doctor, please, you must find a way. No matter the cost, you have to save him. The doctor pursed his lips. We'll certainly do our best, but we really can't guarantee the outcome. You, as family, should also be prepared. Ethan pondered. Is there a better chance at another hospital? The doctor shook his head. For his condition, our hospital's treatment level is considered the best in Port Sterling. I don't recommend transferring him. A troubled look clouded Ethan's face. He politely thanked the doctor, then led Sarah towards the first-floor lobby. Just as they entered the elevator, the tattooed man followed them in. Sarah, understandably, began to tremble uncontrollably. Ethan squeezed her hand and smiled faintly. Sarah, Kevin and I go back more than 10 years. I won't stand by while he's going through this. Don't worry about the money. I'll take care of it. The first part of his sentence was for Sarah to reassure her. The second part was to make the tattooed man lower his guard, thinking Ethan was just a friend helping out with medical expenses. When they reached the payment window in the lobby, which was crowded and noisy, Ethan finally spoke plainly to Sarah. I heard what the police asked you. Don't worry, I'll bring Tina back safely. Trust me, all you need to do is stay by Kevin's side. Don't trust anyone but me, understand? Sarah nodded. Understand. Mr. Vance, thank you so much. We're friends, don't be polite, Ethan said, then took out his phone and sent a text to Benny. Tina is with them. Move fast. The police might also be taking action. Make sure you handle it before they do. About 2 hours later, Ethan, who was waiting with Sarah outside the ICU, received a message from Benny. Done. Got 'em all. Ethan, Tina, with me. Just a bit shaken, but she's okay. Take them somewhere secluded. Send me the location. After replying to Benny, Ethan exited his messaging app and called Jax. How's it going? The excitable Jax chirped. Oh man, I've transferred all the money from their accounts. Ha. Plus, I found tons of explicit videos and photos, all of young girls. Damn, hundreds of them. These loan sharks are scum. Boss, should I delete them? Ethan glanced at the tattooed man, not far away, and said in a low voice, keep them. They'll be useful. Contact Benny and meet up with him first. Got it. After hanging up, Ethan patted Sarah's arm and leaned close to her ear. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say, and don't get agitated. Tina has been found. She's safe. I'm going to bring her back now. Tears welled up in Sarah's eyes. Her pale, pretty face instantly filled with gratitude. She whispered, thank you, Mr. Vance. Ethan shook his head gently and smiled faintly. When Tina gets back, if the police ask, tell them someone was watching you at the hospital, that you were scared, and that's why you didn't tell them you were being threatened before. Answer whatever they ask, but remember, my involvement must be kept secret. Don't mention a single word, or I'll be in trouble, understand? Okay, I understand. Ethan patted her hand, stood up, and walked towards the elevator. On his way, he casually glanced at the tattooed man, then flicked his eyes towards a buzz-cut man not far away. Plain clothes? Heh. Half an hour later, Ethan arrived at an abandoned industrial complex on the city outskirts. The 4 scumbags were kneeling in a neat row, each beaten beyond recognition. Benny sat idly on a nearby oil drum, puffing on a cigarette. Seeing Ethan enter, Benny quickly stood up. Boss. Ethan acknowledged, his somber eyes sweeping over the 4 men. Where's Tina? In the car. Just as he spoke, Jax opened the car door. Hey, boss. Just comforting this pretty young lady. Chun had often helped at her brother's roadside grill and naturally recognized Ethan. She said in astonishment, Mr. Vance, how did you? It was only then that the naive girl realized. You rescued me? Ethan smiled faintly and nodded. Yes, it's okay now. Don't be afraid. Tina quickly got out of the car, ran over, and hugged Ethan, sobbing. Mr. Vance, thank you. They're not human. Boo-hoo. Mr. Vance, is my brother okay? I need to go to the hospital. Can you take me to the hospital? Ethan looked at the anxious Tina and said, Your brother's fine? I'll take you to the hospital in a bit. Right now, just wait for me to handle this, okay? Tina wiped her tears and sniffled. Okay, Mr. Vance, I'll listen to you. Ethan walked towards the 4 men. Benny pulled out a small, cheap-looking handgun and pointed it at the man kneeling on the far left, grinning. Boss, this little toy is his. When I caught him, he tried to pop me with it. But he fumbled, and I snatched it. I used this thing to rearrange their faces. Hilarious. Ethan looked at the man and sneered. Didn't realize you played with guns. What, trying to make it big? The man's face was covered in blood, his violent nature thoroughly tamed by Benny. He begged, Friend, please let us go. Whatever money you want, I'll give it to you. Jax pouted. You damn fool. Why would you think we're robbers? Oh man, you probably don't even know your money's long gone. The man looked up in terror, glanced at Jax, then asked Ethan, Friend, who exactly are you guys? Ethan took a breath. Don't be afraid. I'm not a good person. He paced back and forth in front of the four men. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe in the existence of hell? The four exchanged glances, no one daring to speak. Ethan, I do. I firmly believe. And I know very well that I'll go to hell when I die. What about you? Do you think you'll end up like me? Only deserving of hell? This question was undeniably chilling. The four scumbags instantly burst into tears and pleas for mercy. Ethan turned to Tina and asked, Tina, do you think they deserve to die? Tina bit her lip and said, Mr. Vance, let the police handle it. I don't want you to dirty your hands because of me. That wouldn't be good for you. Silly girl. Ethan smiled. All right, I'll listen to you. I won't dirty my hands. He then looked at the four scumbags and said mockingly, You've done so many bad things. You have to pay a price. How about this? I'll donate your ill-gotten gains to charity on your behalf. Consider it accumulating good karma for you. As for the four of you, how do you deserve to continue living here? With that, he said to Benny, send them on a boat trip. Benny shrugged and pouted. All right, I'll take care of it. Hearing there was a way out, the four men immediately expressed their profuse gratitude. They didn't care where the boat was going, as long as they were alive. Jax looked at the four scumbags, a faint smile playing on his lips, and asked Ethan, Boss, should I take you guys back first? Tina, let's go. I won't go up when we get to the hospital. You stay with your sister-in-law. If your brother wakes up, let me know immediately. Also, you have to promise me not to tell anyone I rescued you. If the police ask, tell them you escaped on your own, understand? You absolutely cannot mention me. Tina nodded very seriously. Understand, Mr. Vance. I won't get you into trouble. Meanwhile, Detective Eva Rostova, leading her team on inquiries, was deeply frustrated. After leaving the hospital, they had visited the homes of the four suspects one by one. Strangely, the families of all four suspects gave strikingly similar answers. He just stepped out, got a call and left, seemed happy. Probably went out for drinks with friends. But when Eva had them call, all the phones were off, which inevitably aroused her suspicion. Just as she was pondering the peculiarity of it all, the plainclothes officer at the hospital called her. Tina Chun is here at the hospital. Eva quickly got into her car, starting it while asking, Did she come alone? Yes. From what I overheard her telling her sister-in-law, it sounds like she escaped on her own. Eva frowned, thought for a moment, then asked, before she arrived, was everything normal with Sarah Chun? The plainclothes officer replied, a man was with her. They didn't say much. He left about an hour ago. I was observant and snapped a photo of him. Send it to me. Okay, sent. Also, there's a man with a tattoo on his wrist who's been sitting in the corridor for a long time. He occasionally glances at Sarah. I find him suspicious. Wait, he's on the phone. I think he's about to leave. Apprehend him. We're on our way. Hanging up, Eva was frantic. She opened the photo sent by the plainclothes officer while driving. Looking at the roguishly handsome face in the picture, the usually stern policewoman's expression grew even colder. A week after New Year's Day, the holiday officially ended, and the working masses began a new round of the daily grind. In the past few days, based on the statement from the tattooed man arrested at the hospital, the police immediately formed a special task force. Detective Eva Rostova was appointed as its leader. They launched a swift operation, dismantling the criminal organization behind Rose Capital Solutions, the predatory loan company. They even found crucial evidence on a computer inside the company, a significant achievement that rid Port Sterling of a major menace. However, the company's boss and his three key enforcers were still missing. Kevin Chun, in the ICU, had yet to regain consciousness, barely clinging to life. If it weren't for Ethan Vance's generous financial support, the medical bills from just these few days would have been enough to overwhelm the two vulnerable women. Emerald Lake Estates. Early in the morning, not yet 6 o'clock, Ethan Vance got out of bed, went downstairs, lazily brewed a cup of tea, then strolled towards the study, calling out loudly, Benny. A moment later, the big man rushed out of his room, wearing only a pair of boxer shorts, his eyes still heavy with sleep. What's up, boss? Ethan. Just a reminder, it's still early. You can go back to sleep. Go on, Benny. Are you even listening to yourself? Startled awake like this, Benny lost all desire to sleep. He went back to his room, threw on a robe, and followed Ethan into the study. His boss had been frowning for days, and the big guy naturally knew why. He mumbled, Boss, don't worry too much. Everyone has their own fate. Besides, Jax watched Kevin Chun for so long and found nothing. The way I see it, he really doesn't know where his cousin, Marcus Chun, is. Ethan sat in his chair, casually pulled open the drawer in front of him, took out a stack of photos, and flipped through them listlessly. Those three siblings relied on each other since childhood, grew up enduring hardships together, sharing weal and woe. That kind of bond is even deeper than the ties between us brothers. How could they not be in contact? Benny looked at the pile of photos. Apart from a few old group pictures of the three siblings, the rest were individual photos of Marcus Chun. In fact, not just Ethan, but even he had looked at these photos dozens of times. Boss, I'm not trying to be a wet blanket, but this is really... The world is too big. Finding him is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Ethan's eyes narrowed. He said gravely, I have a hunch he's in the country, maybe even in Port Sterling. Every time I mentioned him to Kevin Chun before, Kevin's eyes would have this almost imperceptible flicker of avoidance. Or maybe he was a little afraid of me. Afraid of you? He didn't know who you were back then. Why would he be afraid of you? Benny was puzzled. Kevin didn't know, but Marcus Chun did. He used to be my mother's driver. He saw me many times. Benny's eyes gradually brightened. That means the two cousins are in contact. Boss, am I smart or what? Ethan, right? A genius. Just then, faint footsteps were heard from the living room, heading towards the kitchen. It was definitely Lily. Benny's eyes darted around, and he grinned sheepishly. Boss, you think here. I won't disturb you, Ethan glanced at him sideways. Off to tease Lily again. Benny waved his hands frantically. No. I just going to say hi. Benny, do you have some ideas about that girl? Ethan's eyes crinkled at the corners as he stared intently at the big man. How could I? Don't talk nonsense. Benny scratched his head, his large face instantly flushing crimson. I haven't even had my first crush yet. Ethan chuckled. Then his face suddenly turned serious. I heard from Jax that on New Year's Eve, you got drunk and blabbed to Lily all about our past exploits, didn't you? Benny's expression instantly froze, a hint of panic in his eyes. Boss, I just got drunk and mentioned a few things. Lily isn't an outsider, right? It's okay. You oaf. Ethan glared at him, exasperated. Before we came back, I repeatedly warned you not to mention anything about our past to anyone. Did you forget so quickly? Benny hung his head and mumbled, didn't forget. I just drank too much. So being drunk is an excuse? Go. Pay your respects to the panther statue. Oh. And stare at it for half an hour. Maybe that'll jog your memory. Oh. Half an hour later, Benny's booming voice echoed from the living room. Lily, what are you making for breakfast? How about making me one of those killer breakfast burritos with extra hot sauce like they make back home sometime? When I was training at this hardcore MMA gym, I used to sneak out every few days to grab one. Man, that was the life. Just got my ass kicked by the coach a lot. Ethan. Just as he was feeling exasperated, Isabelle Thorne, breaking all precedent, called him. Ethan raised an eyebrow. For his nominal wife to think of him, it could only be business or she needed a favor. So early in the morning, missing me so much you couldn't sleep? Ethan's voice had a natural magnetism and allure, easily making women's imaginations run wild. But alas, on the other end of the line was the famously unattainable Ice Queen. Isabelle was silent for a long moment, seemingly suppressing the urge to curse him. She took a deep breath. The president of a major advertising agency is coming today. We have business to discuss. The appointment is at 2 in the afternoon. You must be there to meet him. Ethan said nonchalantly. Must? Meet him? Isabelle said sharply. Don't you think your absence will be very impolite, very disrespectful? Ethan smiled faintly. I'm a shameless bastard. What do I need manners for? Isabelle, though, trying to be patient, her breathing was audibly heavier over the phone. If this deal goes through, it'll be a great start for the company this year, bringing us a lot of benefits. I hope you'll take it seriously. Why do I feel like you're the regent pulling the strings behind the curtain? And I'm just some puppet emperor who has to listen to everything you say. I have no interest in being your elder. The moment the words left her mouth, Isabelle regretted them. Being sharp-tongued with this damn man was tantamount to asking for trouble. Sure enough, Ethan said, You're my wife? Isabelle said sharply, Ethan Vance. Are you sure you want to yell at me? Think carefully. Last time you cut me, I haven't even gotten around to settling that score with you yet. Baby, don't make me angry again. Silence on the other end. After a full minute of silence, Ethan, looking at the still-connected call, said flippantly, quite persistent. Isabelle snapped. Are you coming or not? Getting antsy? Why not try begging me? I'm a sucker for that. Dream on. You dog. Now I'm angry. Good. I hope you die of anger. I'll bury you myself. Baby, I couldn't bear to make you a widow. Have some shame. In the afternoon, snow began to fall gently from the sky. It wasn't even 2 o'clock, yet Isabelle Thorne, along with several department heads and managers from Elysia Media, stood in a neat line downstairs, ready to welcome their important guest. In truth, such a grand display wasn't originally necessary, but since that damn man couldn't be relied upon, If they weren't more formal, it would surely make the distinguished guest feel slighted. Ultimately, the reason Elysian Media had garnered the favor of this major company was because of one word: Vance. Otherwise, she wouldn't have steeled herself to call Ethan and insist he come to the company. As 2 o'clock approached, Isabelle took a deep breath and scanned the distant intersection. Business people were very punctual. If they said a certain time, they meant it, rarely arriving late. Just as she was craning her neck in anticipation, a silver-gray GTR sped towards them, stopping precisely in front of the company building. Next, Isabelle saw that damn man, who had infuriated her early that morning, climb out of the car. Regarding the GTR, men called it a legend, their ultimate dream car. But in women's eyes, it was just some souped-up Nissan. How could it compare to the allure of German luxury brands? Sure enough, 2 female managers exchanged glances, seemingly perplexed. Mr. Vance is so rich, why drive such a common car? If they knew this car was also a rare manual transmission model, they'd likely be even more baffled. Isabelle didn't know cars, but she wasn't surprised. After all, the old Honda Civic that damn man initially drove looked even shabbier than this. Ethan, dressed in a well-fitting blue suit paired with a black shirt, casually twirled his car keys as he strolled towards the company entrance. A roguish grin played on his lips. Well, my esteemed ministers, are you all waiting for me to hold court? Everyone chuckled in unison and greeted him. Mr. Vance, Happy New Year. Ethan nodded, then looked at Isabelle, his thin lips parting. Ms. Thorne, surprised? Unexpected? Isabelle remained expressionless, too lazy to respond. But inwardly, she let out a huge sigh of relief. Suddenly, she inexplicably recalled what Victor Vance had told her on New Year's Eve. Wasn't this proving it right now? This damn man, always angering her and helping her in equal measure. Thinking this, Isabelle felt a strange discomfort. She pursed her lips and said, Mr. Vance, thanks. Ethan's smile was playful. Between us, is there any need for thanks? Everyone? Since the two had previously been exposed for their secret marriage, although no one in the company dared to say it openly, they inevitably discussed and speculated behind their backs. Now, hearing Ethan say this, everyone's inner gossip monger was itching. Isabelle frowned, a warning glint flashing in her eyes. She glared at Ethan and said, Mr. Vance, be serious. The people from the ad agency will be here any minute. Ethan shrugged. Am I not serious? Wendy, am I not serious? The CEO's young assistant looked troubled, blinking blankly. Sorry. She had just uttered one syllable when she felt Isabelle's icy gaze and hastily corrected herself. Sorry. Seriously not. A ripple of light laughter went through the group. Isabelle took a breath, about to speak, when she saw Chloe Miller and her agent, Maria, unexpectedly arrive at the company. Instantly, a smirk touched the beautiful woman's lips. She looked at Ethan as if watching a show, her eyes seeming to say, surprised? Unexpected? Ethan didn't react at first. Following her gaze, he then saw his ex-wife and that agent who was, by all accounts, thoroughly unlikable. Their expressions were starkly different. The agent looked somewhat timid, while Chloe was visibly furious. It wasn't hard to guess she probably already knew Ron Wallace had replaced her, and she would undoubtedly assume it was Ethan's doing. Isabelle had likely figured this out too, hence her gleeful, trouble-stirring expression. Thinking this, Ethan shot Isabelle a look and muttered, Aren't big-chested women supposed to be brainless? Heh, men don't like women who are too smart. Isabelle smirked. Mr. Vance, handle this well. Don't let it affect the company. As she finished speaking, Chloe Miller had already walked up to them. Just as the others were wondering what this superstar intended, they saw her raise a hand and point at Ethan, screaming like a madwoman. Ethan Vance? What the hell is your problem? For a moment, the scene was dead silent, but everyone's minds were buzzing. Did our dashing Mr. Vance sleep with his superstar too? Holy crap, just a pretty face, and she dares to talk to a capitalist like that? How dare she? It's over, she's toast. Her career's definitely getting shelved. Isabelle's eyes instantly turned cold. She had thought that even if Chloe was immature and foolish, she would at least have the sense to speak to Ethan privately. Who would have thought this woman was so unhinged? Publicly embarrassing the company's boss. Perhaps that damn man would overlook it due to their past, but she, the CEO, couldn't sit idly by. Otherwise, how would she maintain her authority in the future? Chloe Miller, let me give you a piece of advice. Whatever issues you have, please resolve them with Mr. Vance in private. If you continue to make a scene, you should know the consequences. Chloe gave a bitter laugh, glaring at Isabelle. Consequences? What other consequences can I have? Isabelle Thorne, you're a thorough-out businesswoman, an emotionless machine. Even if I haven't made great contributions to Elysian media, I've worked hard, haven't I? It's been so long since Director Wallace replaced me, and you kept it from me all this time just to squeeze out my last bit of value. The manager of the artist management department quickly stepped in to mediate. Chloe, don't cause a scene. Whatever it is, I'll explain it to you in private later. Explain what? The company probably planned to shell me long ago, right? Heh, you're all cut from the same cloth. Chloe gritted her teeth, two streams of clear tears overflowing from her reddened eyes. The PR department manager interjected. The company never thought of shelving you. You ruined your own reputation. Our entire PR department doesn't know how to clean up your mess. We repeatedly warned you to be mindful of your private life. Did you listen? No fans like a female celebrity who's a gold digger. And so blatant about it. Chloe had completely lost her sanity, lashing out at everyone. Stop with the holier-than-thou act. Get lost. Ethan pouted. He happened to see several large black Mercedes sedans approaching in the distance, likely the ad agency people, and smiled faintly. Chloe, come with me. Chloe stood motionless, her body trembling as she sobbed. There's no need. Ethan Vance, I see you for what you are now. You're a complete hypocrite. You talked about loving me, yet you deceived me for 2 whole years. Now that you can't have me, you want to destroy me. Is that it? I came here to tell you, your despicable tactics won't kill me. Even if I have to deliver food, set up a street stall, or sweep the streets, I can support myself. Then, she pointed angrily at Isabelle. And you, Isabelle Thorne, I know you're all laughing at me now. Do you think I was blind? Let me tell you, I never loved Ethan Vance. I've never regretted divorcing him. But still, congratulations to you. You have a keen eye, you struck gold. I even suspect that while Ethan and I were still married, you were already trying to seduce him. The short, impassioned, and resentful speech dropped bombshell after bombshell. The onlookers were repeatedly shocked, enough to be thoroughly sated. Mr. Vance and Chloe Miller were married for 2 years. Ms. Thorne and Mr. Vance really are secretly married. And Ms. Thorne might even be the other woman? Isabelle felt a throbbing in her temples. Seeing the 3 black Mercedes sedans from the ad agency parked neatly in the company's downstairs lot, she couldn't bother with any emergency PR for herself. She made a decisive call. Security, clear out all irrelevant personnel. As she spoke, a white Range Rover also coincidentally pulled up by the roadside. Ethan raised an eyebrow and muttered, well, even more lively. This nonchalant demeanor nearly made Isabelle cough up blood. Her face cold, she said, Mr. Vance, please handle your personal affairs elsewhere. Don't disrupt the company. Ethan glanced at the 3 Mercedes and clicked his tongue. Afraid it's a bit too late for that. Chloe, held by 2 security guards, struggled frantically, crying out, let go of me. I can walk myself. You're a crappy company. I wouldn't come back even if you begged me. Let go of me. At the same time, 2 people got out of the white Range Rover, Ryan Asher and Mrs. Miller. Ever since Chloe confirmed that Ron Wallace had helped her because of Ethan, she had cut off all contact with Ryan. Even when Ryan humbly, even abjectly, begged her repeatedly, she refused to see him. She didn't despise Ryan for being inferior to Ethan. She hated being deceived. But Mrs. Miller's attitude towards Ryan remained as cordial as ever. After all, in her eyes, Ryan was a genuine, rare golden goose, while her opinion of Ethan was still stuck on the pretty boy moocher label Ryan had previously fed her. Today at noon, after lunch, Chloe finally got through to Ron Wallace. In fact, she had been calling him every day since New Year's Day, but her calls had gone unanswered. Today, she finally connected, intending to offer cheerful New Year greetings and ask when the film crew would start shooting. Unexpectedly, she learned the news from Ron Wallace that was enough to drive her mad. In a way, Ron Wallace was her emotional pillar. Now, that pillar had crumbled into dust. How could she not go mad? After a huge crying fit at home, she contacted her agent, Maria, saying she was going to the company to vent her anger, ready to throw caution to the wind. When Mrs. Miller heard this, afraid her daughter would be bullied, she quickly contacted Ryan Asher. They rushed over to provide backup. Now, seeing the company security guards treating her superstar daughter so rudely, how could this habitually sharp-tongued, unreasonable old woman endure it? She rushed to the company entrance in a few strides, grabbed Ethan's collar, and started yelling, "You deadbeat moocher! Gotten bold, haven't you? Our Chloe supported you for 2 years, and instead of being grateful, you bully her? You're an ungrateful snake." Tui. Ethan sidestepped the saliva attack, a hint of helplessness appearing on his calm face. Seeing this, the company staff rushed forward, surrounding Mrs. Miller. Isabelle closed her eyes and said to the head of security, "If they're not gone in 1 minute, you can resign yourself." Then, composing her breathing, she walked towards the president of the advertising agency. "Mr. King, please excuse the commotion. Let me show you into the company first." Mr. King, a man in his 40s with a consistently refined demeanor, smiled faintly and waved his hand. "It's all right. I see you, Mr. Vance is quite busy. Heh, I'm not in a hurry. I'll wait here until he's finished." Isabelle, helpless, stood beside Mr. King with her arms crossed, watching the scene with a mixture of shame and indignation. But seeing that damn man looking so calm and detached, as if he were an outsider, and he actually had the nerve to smile, Isabelle's anger flared up. Truly shameless. Did he not know what embarrassment was? Chloe's agent, Maria, looking at the chaotic scene, hesitated for a long time before finally mustering the courage to rush towards Chloe, holding her tightly. "Let her go. We'll leave on our own." Ryan Asher stood a short distance away, his face etched with hesitation and unease. He couldn't bear to see Chloe in such a state, but he was even more reluctant to put the Asher family in jeopardy again. Ethan Vance was truly someone he couldn't afford to offend. No, he was someone even his father couldn't afford to offend. After weighing his options for a moment, he gritted his teeth, strode up to Ethan, and then, astonishingly, dropped to his knees. "Mr. Vance, it was all my fault before. I hope you can give Chloe another chance. Don't replace her in the role. She really won't be able to take it." Ethan rolled his eyes. Now that things had escalated to this point, what was the use of saying such things? It was merely to curry favor with Chloe. A leopard can't change its spots. You'll be a spineless suck-up till the day you die, Ethan said disdainfully. His petty calculations exposed by Ethan, Ryan couldn't help but be a little surprised. Just then, Mrs. Miller, who had been holding her own against several people with her rapid-fire saliva technique, spotted her golden goose kneeling before that pretty boy. Her anger instantly maxed out. She shoved aside the 2 security guards blocking her and rushed over. "You dare make Ryan kneel to you? Ethan Vance, you shameless pretty boy. You're not even human. You're not even human. Adulterous scum." Seeing the old woman charge at him, Ethan quickly dodged. But as fate would have it, the old woman lost her footing and went sprawling, face first onto the ground. A knot formed in everyone's stomach. Oh no, she's definitely going to try and extort someone. Sure enough, Mrs. Miller lay on the ground, caught her breath, and then began to wail loudly. "He's hitting people. Is anyone going to do anything? He's killing me. Vance, you pretty boy, you've been messing around with that thorn bitch behind Chloe's back, and now you're trying to drive Chloe to a dead end. Are you even human? Adulterous scum, tooey." Ethan sighed, his face gradually hardening. He glared at the head of security and sneered. "Are you looking for me to chew you out? Get them out of here. I can afford whatever blackmail money she wants." Just as he finished speaking and turned, a delicate hand viciously slapped him across the face. "Ethan Vance, if anything happens to my mother, I'm not done with you." The scene instantly fell silent. Almost everyone was petrified, except for Mrs. Miller, who was still wailing, oblivious to the gravity of the situation. Ethan wasn't just the boss of Elysian Media. He was a young master of the Vance family. Slapping him was like bearding the lion in its den. Ethan glanced at the unhinged Chloe, his tongue pressing against the inside of his cheek. His face cold, he asked, "Are you done freaking out?" Instantly, Chloe seemed to snap out of her hysteria. She timidly took a step back, looking at her hand in disbelief. "Get lost. Don't piss me off." This was a tone Ethan had never used with Chloe before. Cold, resolute, angry, distant. Chloe now looked like a clown, her head bowed in shame and resentment, her mind a chaotic mess, seemingly lost and disoriented. It was a pitiful sight, but hadn't she brought all this upon herself? Ethan had no mind to deal with her. He turned to go back into the company. Out of the corner of his eye, however, he saw his nominal wife striding towards them. Then came a crisp slap. Smack! Ethan was momentarily stunned. He turned to see Isabelle glaring at Chloe with fury, her voice venomous. "Chloe, between you and Ethan, you were the one who cheated first. That's why you divorced. But Ethan and I are openly in love, and we're already legally married. If you and your mother want to sling mud again, please get your story straight next time. Don't call him a pretty boy 1 minute and me a homewrecker the next. Have some basic logic, will you? And listen to me carefully. If you ever dare touch my husband again, I'll tear you apart." That slap completely shattered Chloe Miller's already fragile heart. At the same time, it stunned Ethan Vance. Ryan Asher and Maria, each taking one of the Miller women, made a messy exit. The remaining crowd exchanged glances, silent as cicadas in winter. Since they had known Isabelle Thorne, this was the first time they had ever seen the beautiful CEO strike someone. Isabelle, calm and composed, glanced at Ethan. "Mr. Vance, go greet Mr. King. He's been watching this farce for long enough." Ethan stared at her, his gaze somewhat vacant. "Mr. Vance," Isabelle called again. The playboy remained motionless, as if his soul had left his body. Isabelle, impatient, pouted and directly pinched his waist, whispering, "System crash." The onlookers who witnessed this scene merely took it as a couple's playful bickering, their expressions a colorful mix. Ethan finally reacted, though his brain still seemed a bit foggy. Oh, right, let's go." Isabelle found it inexplicable. What was wrong with this damn man now? It was as if the gears in his head had seized. After a polite exchange with Mr. King, the couple led him into the company. Ostensibly, they were discussing business, but it was merely Mr. King wanting to get acquainted with Ethan Vance. The business deal was just a goodwill gesture. People strive for greater heights, a principle applicable in any field. Soon, both parties finalized their cooperation. After a few brief pleasantries, Mr. King and his team departed. After seeing them off, Isabelle returned to her office and called her assistant, Wendy. "File these contracts. Also, inform the artist management department. The lipstick endorsement we were preparing for Chloe Miller before the new year, switch it to Kimberly Frost." "Yes, Ms. Thorne." Wendy, clutching the contracts, greeted Ethan, who was leaning against the sofa, with a complex look in her eyes before exiting the office. "You had an endorsement lined up for Chloe?" Ethan sat up straight, slightly astonished. "It seems you're not entirely heartless after all." Isabelle glanced at him, noticing that his handsome, almond-shaped eyes held an inexplicable tenderness. She paused, then said, "Don't look at me like that. It's a bit creepy." Ethan feigned ignorance. "How am I looking at you?" "Isabelle, like a creep. You're my wife. It's perfectly natural for me to look at you like this." Ethan cupped his chin, the tenderness in his eyes almost overflowing. "Ethan Vance." Isabelle's face hardened, her tone serious. "Don't misunderstand. That slap I gave Chloe and those things I said were all done out of necessity." "I know." Ethan smiled faintly. Given the situation at the time, Isabelle had already been confirmed to have a connection with him. Chloe and her mother were relentlessly slandering them. If she hadn't handled it that way, the entire company would be gossiping about her, and Mr. King would undoubtedly view her differently. Although she was very reluctant to publicize her relationship with Ethan, it was better to be open about it than to be seen as the other woman. "Then we're even," Isabelle said coolly. Ethan reacted slowly. Huh? Even for what?" "Isabelle, last time I cut you. Today, no matter how you look at it, I saved your face. Of course, if you feel sorry for Chloe, then just pretend I didn't say anything." "Ethan, jealous?" Isabelle couldn't be bothered to respond to him. She was numb to those two words by now. She pressed her lips together and averted her gaze. "No need to be even. Consider my debt to you." Ethan's lips curved into a smile, his voice full of affection. "How about we have dinner together tonight? Let me repay you properly." "No need. Surely you don't want me to offer myself to you in repayment?" Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Not that I'd object." Isabelle glared at this shameless scoundrel, her voice cool. "If you're in heat, go call one of your good friends. Or go to a vet and get neutered." As she spoke, she intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Ethan's chest and said sarcastically, "Or I could neuter you myself." Ethan grinned roguishly. "Wifey, you're so fierce. I love it." Isabelle. Seeing the Ice Queen on the verge of exploding, Ethan stopped pushing his luck. He stood up, his smile fading slightly. "Seriously, growing up, apart from my mother, you're the first person who's ever stood up for me. The way you were just now. You really captivated me." Isabelle was speechless. It was fake, understand? Ethan pursed his lips and nodded with a smile. "I don't mind. At least, you made me happy for a moment." A child who had never tasted candy, if suddenly given a fake piece, even if it was just a flavorless plastic model, would still find it sweet in their mouth. "Ethan Vance, you're laying on too thick. Some things can't be taken seriously, not even for a second." Isabelle's eyes were distant, her demeanor pushing him 1,000 miles away. "All right, then we won't take it seriously for now," Ethan said, walking towards the door. As he closed it, he added with a cheeky grin, "Wifey, I'll be in my office. Don't miss me too much." The way he said it, his expression and tone, strongly resembled some washed-up soap opera star trying too hard for a comeback. Isabelle, Does he really think he looks cool when he's trying to be suave? One idiot. After that internal jibe, the words Ethan had just spoken unconsciously surfaced in her mind. I don't mind. At least, you made me happy for a moment. And his expression as he said it, that smile, it was a genuine, pure, and unadulterated joy. Recalling New Year's Day, Theodore Vance ruthlessly beating him, even Mr. Watkins, an outsider, daring to strike the young master. Then thinking about what Victor had said, Ethan actually had a very difficult childhood. An inexplicable pang of sorrow struck Isabelle's heart. What had he been through to show such a smile just now? A flower in a greenhouse can hardly understand the grass in the same greenhouse because the herbicide is never sprayed on them. After a moment of heartache, Isabelle thought she might be losing her mind too. Why on earth was she thinking about that damn man? Meanwhile, Ethan had just returned to his office when Benny, who had been sent to the hospital that morning, called. Kevin Chun just came out of surgery. The doctor said he'll need another operation in a few days. But the chances of him waking up are still slim. Ethan pondered. Pay enough for the medical expenses, give generous red envelopes. The rest is up to fate. Yeah, the money's been taken care of. Boss, I have something else to report. Want to hear it? Ethan, whatever. Huh. Benny paused, then coughed. That guy Jax is definitely hitting on Tina Chun. Ethan, whatever. He's been clinging to Tina all morning. I can't get him to do anything. Ethan, whatever. You want to give him a talking to? Or should I just beat him up for you? Ethan, whatever. Benny, whatever? The big guy had originally intended to use this opportunity to get back at Jax for ratting him out, but instead, he got for whatevers. After mulling it over for a long time, he still didn't understand what it meant and asked bluntly, Boss, what's wrong with you? Ethan said, a little sheepishly, Benny, have you ever experienced that heart-pounding feeling? You know, that sudden, racing heartbeat, Benny? What the heck? Are you talking about arrhythmia or something? Boss, you got a heart condition. Ethan, no, it's like, my heart skipped a beat. That kind of heart pounding. Benny was silent for a long moment, then stammered, Boss, you sound like you're in heat, man. Ethan's voice turned dangerously smooth. Benny, remember to lock your door from the inside tonight. Otherwise, you might not wake up. A sharp intake of breath was heard from the other end of the line, followed quickly by Benny, voice suddenly enthusiastic. Right. Heart pounding. Definitely a heart-pounding feeling. That kind of intense feeling, it just grabs you, you know? Can't escape it. Jack's in the background. What's going on? As evening approached, Isabelle Thorne finished her work and then summoned the heads of all departments to the conference room to outline the cooperation project signed with Mr. King. Any further comments? Everyone was silent. Isabelle. Then it settled. Meeting adjourned. Just as everyone was about to get up and leave, Ms. Young, the head of the artist management department, suddenly chuckled. Ms. Thorne, should we start calling you Mrs. Vance now? Isabelle glanced at her, her voice cool. Are you very idle? The attempt at flattery had backfired spectacularly. The department head, a woman in her early 30s, looked unavoidably awkward. Isabelle shot her a look, then addressed the group. I hope that in the future, I won't hear anyone discussing my affairs with Mr. Vance again. The reason we kept our marriage private was to avoid too much publicity. Before she could finish, everyone's gaze suddenly, and in unison, shifted to the doorway. The next moment, Isabelle heard that damn man's voice from the entrance. Wifey, almost quitting time. Decided what you want for dinner. Isabelle. Everyone. So much for not too much publicity. Mr. Vance, we're in a meeting. Isabelle turned to look at him, her beautiful eyes filled with a warning, as if to say, Are you insane? Ethan ignored her warning glare, a smile playing on his lips. It's fine. You have your meeting. I'll just watch you for a bit. No conflict. Isabelle suppressed her anger and said to her assistant beside her, Wendy, go close the door. Wendy. Ms. Thorne, I'm just an innocent kid. Are you really going to push me into the line of fire? Just as the young woman was caught in a dilemma, a cold female voice suddenly came from the hallway. Ethan Vance. The playboy, thus named, looked in the direction of the voice. Upon seeing who it was, his expression momentarily stiffened. A jolt went through everyone present, their thoughts coalescing. Which jilted lover is here to collect a debt of passion this time? Our Mr. Vance, with a fairy-like wife, is still so insatiable? Is this the joy of being rich? Thinking this, they all turned to look at Isabelle, their eyes holding varying degrees of sympathy. Isabelle felt extremely uncomfortable under the gazes of these company pillars. She frowned, glaring at Ethan standing at the door. Just as she was about to speak, she saw a beautiful policewoman in uniform appear at the entrance. unceremoniously grabbing Ethan's collar. There's a case I need your cooperation on. Come with me, everyone. Isabelle froze, frowning in confusion. Officer, Ethan said calmly, a faint smile on his face. What case? The policewoman's attitude was firm. You know damn well. Come with me. Seeing this, the head of the company's legal department quickly stood up and walked over. Hello, officer. I'm the company's legal counsel. May I ask why you're looking for a Mr. Vance? The policewoman glanced at him sideways. Not at liberty to disclose, the lawyer said calmly. Then may I ask if you have the relevant warrants or documentation? If not, then I'm sorry, but our Mr. Vance is very busy right now and cannot go with you. The policewoman, furious, glared at Ethan. I'm only asking once. Are you coming with me or not? Just as the lawyer was about to speak again, Ethan cut him off with a raised hand. Yes, I'll go. Never said I wouldn't. Look at you. What are you so angry about? Your face is actually prettier when you smile. Isabelle, this damn man flirts with everyone. Lawyer, do they know each other? Am I meddling? The policewoman said no more, pulling Ethan by the collar out of the room. The lawyer, somewhat at a loss, looked at Isabelle. Ms. Thorne, should I go see what's happening? No need. Isabelle took a deep breath and looked at the head of administration. The security department needs a complete overhaul. The head of administration, trembling with trepidation, replied, Yes, Ms. Thorne. I'll handle it immediately. Detective Bureau Morgue. Detective Eva Rostova pointed to a corpse, clearly bloated from water immersion, and asked Ethan, recognize him? Ethan recognized the deceased as Anthony Tony Price, the boss of Rose Capital Solutions, the predatory loan company. He calmly shook his head. How would I know him? Eva sneered. Tony Price, owner of Rose Capital. Before the new year, he and 3 of his employees committed a joint sexual assault. The victim's name is Tina Chun. Need I continue? You should know better than I do. Oh, so it was him. Ethan feigned astonishment. Of course, I know about Tina's situation. All I can say is, good riddance to such an animal. Eva, her face cold, stared at Ethan for a long time. After dismissing the other 2 officers present, she said gravely, I've investigated. Kevin Chun is your classmate. That's right. Ethan shrugged. That's why I know Tina. Eva stared intently into his eyes. Kevin Chun has a cousin named Marcus Chun. Ethan looked thoughtful. Don't know him. Ethan Vance. Are you enjoying playing dumb with me? Eva sneered. 10 years ago, on the night of June 17th, there was a car accident at South Cove Pier. When the police arrived, they only found a wrecked BMW. After investigation, it was confirmed that the car owner, Sylvia Vance, and the driver, Marcus Chun, were missing. A month later, Sylvia Vance's body was accidentally recovered by fishermen. Time of death was confirmed to be between 28 and 33 days after her disappearance. Marcus Chun is still missing to this day. Sylvia Vance was Ethan's mother. Ethan blinked slowly, his thin lips moving. That's all ancient history. Why bring it up? You got close to Kevin Chun and helped him so tirelessly, all to find Marcus Chun, didn't you? Eva hit the nail on the head. Ethan's expression, from the moment he heard his mother's name, had gradually darkened. Officer, I just saw he was pitiful, so I helped him pay his medical bills. That's all. It hardly counts as tireless effort. I spend more than that buying handbags for women. Still pretending? Ethan Vance. The day you left the hospital, Tina Chun returned within an hour, claiming she escaped on her own. Who are you kidding? Also, Rose Capital's accounts were emptied, and several files containing evidence of their crimes were unlocked and left blatantly on a desktop. The tech department told me that if those files hadn't been on the desktop, they would have been very difficult to find. Furthermore, all of Rose Capital's surveillance footage from that day was wiped, and even surveillance from nearby streets was deleted. Ethan Vance, such methods are impossible for an ordinary person. Only you, or rather, people you hire, could do that. Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, looking rather helpless. Officer, by your logic, any rich person could do such a thing. So why does it have to be me? Besides, this mysterious person also helped you crack a major case. You should give him a Good Citizen Award. Eva said angrily, because you wanted Kevin Chun to be grateful to you, to reveal his cousin's whereabouts. You want an award? I'll give you one in jail. Ethan, if you insist on thinking that way, there's nothing I can do. Anyway, if you have evidence, then arrest me. With that, he held out both hands, waiting to be cuffed. Eva was so angry she couldn't speak. She knew Ethan was banking on her lack of evidence. Not arresting me? Ethan smirked. Then I'll be going. Wait. Eva gritted her teeth. Come to my office. The captain's office. Ethan Vance lounged in a chair, all casual indifference. Detective, Not even gonna offer me a cup of coffee? Detective Eva Rostova glanced out the window, her voice laced with meaning. Ethan Vance, I know you were behind this. Oh, here we go again, Ethan sighed. I told you, if you have evidence, you can cuff me right now. Hell, put me in front of a firing squad. I'll find it. I will. Eva's gaze, sharp as a shard of glass, fixed on him. Everything. The whole Vance operation. Every last one of you. All the dirty deeds. I'll dig it all up, piece by piece, until it all sees the light of day. Excellent. I support you 100%. Anything you need, any help at all, just let me know. He offered a dismissive chuckle. Eva glared at him. After a moment of silence, she asked abruptly, weren't you supposedly done with the Vance family? What brought you back? Ethan's lips curved. Your father practically begged me to come back. You should know, the old man's health isn't good. Everyone's got their eyes on his estate, you know? Eva let out a breath. I hope he hangs on for a couple more years. I fully intend to be the one to put him in prison. Ethan laughed out loud. My dear sister, where do you get this ruthless streak? Last I recall, your mother was a gentlewoman. Besides, the Vance family never did anything to you. Why the vendetta? I'm a cop. Right. You're so noble, so righteous. Go on, arrest them. Arrest them all for all I care. It's not like I'm a fan of most of them anyway. Eva pressed her lips together, her eyes clouding over as if lost in thought. After a moment, she crossed her arms. I pulled the old files. 10 years ago, the night your mother disappeared, the precinct got a call from your grandma. Said you'd been taken from your home. Kidnapped. Ethan, what really happened that night? Where? Where did they take you? Overseas, Ethan said, feigning lightness. He paused and smiled. A lot of it's a blur. Anyway, I spent the next 8 years out of the country. If I hadn't come back 2 years ago, you'd probably think I was long dead too. Right? Eva took a deep breath, her tone earnest. Ethan, I know you've been through things no one should have to endure. You came back for revenge, didn't you? But I hope you won't let hatred blind you. Trust the police. Work with me. I'll help you find the real culprits. Ethan's smile was unreadable. Sure, you go right ahead with your investigation. Be sure to let me know when you crack the case. I'll send you a commendation. Eva frowned. Don't let those scumbags poison your heart. Ethan, you can't take matters into your own hands. If you do, what makes you any different from them? Scumbags. Ethan chuckled, rubbing his chin. He pressed his tongue against his back teeth, his eyes suddenly rimmed with red. Eva, do you have any idea what I went through those 8 years? I'll tell you the truth. I will repent. But first, I have to send them all to hell. Then I'll repent in hell with them. Ethan, if you insist on this path, I will arrest you. Sounds good, he chuckled. I'll be waiting. Later that evening, Benny and Jax returned to Phoenix Crest Manor, making a racket. As they stepped into the living room, they found Ethan Vance sitting on the sofa, his face a thundercloud. Benny, come here. Ethan crooked a finger at the heavy-set man, a sinister smile playing on his lips. Benny's heart leaped into his throat. He swallowed hard and shuffled forward. Boss, I just said you had a crush. You're not still holding a grudge, are you? Ethan flicked his eyes towards Lily, who was busy in the kitchen, then lowered his voice. I told you to arrange 4 boat trip tickets. How did one of them end up with the detective squad? Benny visibly trembled. No way. Jax, who had been ready to enjoy the show, suddenly turned serious and hurried to Ethan's side. The cops talked to you. Ethan glared at Benny. Lucky for you, I had Jax stay behind and wipe all the surveillance footage that could have caught us. Otherwise, we'd all be downtown getting grilled right now. You idiot. Benny looked aggrieved. The boat was miles offshore before I did anything. How? How could I have found out? This is just rotten luck, right? You. Ethan jabbed a finger into Benny's chest. Next time, I'm sending you back to that hardcore MMA gym you came from. Benny pouted, muttering, you know I'm all brawn, no brains. This kind of delicate work, Finn used to handle it. Jax blinked. Boss, why don't we call Finn back? He's in South America now, playing deacon or something. Probably bored out of his skull. Ethan picked up a pack of cigarettes from the table and stuck one in the corner of his mouth. Forget it. He's married. Don't bother him. Benny chimed in. I still think we should call him. Some things he's just better at. As the three were talking, Lily emerged from the kitchen with a platter of fruit. Mister, Ethan, Benny, Jax have some fruit. I'm making ribs tonight. They'll be a little while longer. The unsavory topic of conversation died instantly. Ethan tapped ash from his cigarette and said, Thanks, Lily. Appreciate it. Just then his phone buzzed. It was a message from Milo. Her place is a spacious condo, only 2 units per floor. The one across from her is vacant. I contacted the owner. They'll sell for $7 million, $500,000 over market. Sell only, no rent. If you're good with it, you can move in tonight. The previous message in the chat, sent by Ethan as he walked out of the police precinct, read, "Figure something out. I want to live next door to Isabelle Thorne." Ethan read the new message and, without hesitation, replied, "Buy it." He then looked up at Lily. "Help me pack some things. I'm moving out tonight." Lily, Benny, and Jax all looked at him bewildered. "Mister, Ethan, you're moving? Boss, where are you going? What the hell? You're not actually going to live with Isabelle Thorne, are you? Boss, are you serious?" Ethan smiled faintly. "It's chemistry, what can I say?" Benny started to mutter, "Bad sign, can't look away." "Look away, my ass. Go stare at the panther statue and think about what you've done. You got the nerve to sing that now." Jax asked, "What's going on?" The next day, Isabelle Thorne was jolted awake by her alarm. She slapped it off irritably and dozed for another half hour until the alarm's second line of defense kicked in. Only then did she groggily sit up, looking both exhausted and annoyed. The beautiful Ms. Thorne wasn't usually one to struggle with mornings, nor did she typically have a temper upon waking. It was just that her new neighbor, or someone, had apparently decided to move in the previous night, making a racket that continued until well after 2 in the morning. Consequently, she hadn't fallen asleep until nearly 3. Running half an hour later than usual, Isabelle had no time for breakfast. After washing up and putting on her makeup, she grabbed her bag and hurried out the door. She locked it, turned, and just then, the door to the apartment opposite hers opened. A moment later, Ethan Vance, who had been peeking through his peephole for the better part of half an hour, stepped out. When Isabelle saw the bastard, shock didn't even begin to cover it. She even wondered if she was sleep-deprived and hallucinating. Well, sweetheart. Fancy meeting you here. You live here too?" Isabelle Thorne stood frozen for a good long moment. Then, clenching her jaw, she tore her gaze away from Ethan Vance, acting as if this perfectly sculpted man, all looks, physique, and wealth, was a complete stranger. She strode directly towards the elevator. Ethan sauntered over, one hand in his pocket, a faint smile playing on his lips, and positioned himself beside her. "Sweetheart, you see your husband and don't even say hello?" Back in the old days, the kind of disrespect could get you into serious trouble. Isabelle shot him a sidelong glare. "Don't be an ass." Ethan, shameless as ever, replied, "We're legally married. By any definition, this isn't me being an ass." "Ethan Vance." Isabelle's face was cold. "I don't care what you're up to, and I don't want to know why you moved here. But I'm warning you, stay away from me. If you wanted the stars from the sky, I'd at least try to get them for you. But this request, your humble servant cannot comply. What crap are you spewing this early in the morning? Seriously, are you trying to be disgusting? Crap spewing, as you call it, is a wonderful catalyst for romantic feelings." Isabelle rolled her eyes. "If you're not fully awake, go back to bed. Everything between us is fake. Don't get too into your role." Ethan retorted with roguish indifference. "I don't mind making the fake real." Isabelle took a deep breath. She knew this shameless bastard's hide was thicker than bulletproof glass. Neither kind words nor harsh ones would penetrate it. She figured a psychological attack might be more effective. Turning to face him, a hint of mockery in her eyes, she said, "Ethan Vance, are you acting so desperate now because Chloe Miller broke your heart? 2 years of being her lapdog must have driven you half crazy from oppression, huh?" In truth, she had no idea that her supposed psychological attack, which might have had a subtle effect on the Ethan of a few weeks ago, was now as potent as a bottle of spring water with a skull and crossbones sticker on it. Utterly useless. Jealous. Seeing the utter ease and confidence on Ethan's face, Isabelle felt a wave of despair. She gave up on witty retorts and any fantasy of a quick fix to make this jerk back off. She pressed her lips together and ignored him. Ding! The elevator doors opened, and the nominal couple stepped inside, one after the other. Isabelle deliberately maintained a safe distance, a chasm seemingly separating them. "Sweetheart, I moved here to protect you. Think about it. A single woman living alone, it's not safe. Don't call me that. You're incredibly annoying." Ethan automatically filtered out Isabelle's protests and continued. "Even though our country's public safety is among the best in the world, we can't guarantee that all the creeps have gone extinct, right?" "No, they haven't." Isabelle shot him a glare. "There's one in this elevator right now. Isn't that judging a gentleman by your own petty standards?" "Isabelle." The elevator reached the second basement level. Isabelle strode towards her car. From a distance, she saw Ethan's GTR parked right next to her Maserati. "Izzy, everyone's all about saving the planet these days. Why don't you skip driving? I can give you a lift. It's on my way." So, the bastard was listening. He dropped "sweetheart," only to switch to Izzy. The overly familiar nickname made Isabelle's skin crawl. She frowned. "Either call me by my full name, or Ms. Thorne is fine. Okay, Izzy. Isabelle nearly lost it. Forcing down the urge to curse him out, she walked around to the driver's side. As she fumbled for her keys to unlock the door, she discovered something even more infuriating. Where's my tire? Ethan hurried over, feigning shock as he saw the Maserati's missing front left wheel. He clicked his tongue, his voice dripping with righteous indignation. Who the hell did this? So many damn creeps around. Even an idiot would know who was responsible. Isabelle stared at the master actor before her, grinding her teeth in fury. Ethan Vance, are you bored or just an asshole? Ethan just smirked, neither admitting nor denying anything. Instead, he pulled out his phone and pointed to the time on the screen. Izzy, you're going to be late. You're not just an asshole, you're shameless. Thank you for the compliment, Ethan said, pulling open the passenger door of his GTR and making a please get in gesture. Hop in. I'd be delighted to be my wife's beast of burden. Isabelle felt like her lungs would explode, but she had no choice but to reluctantly get in. The entire ride, they barely interacted. It was mostly Ethan delivering a monologue. But, to give credit where it was due, Ethan drove smoothly, and Isabelle found the ride surprisingly comfortable. What surprised her even more was that the car was a manual and the gear stick was unusually long. Who even drove a stick shift these days? What a strange collection of quirks this jerk had. When they reached the Elysian Media Building, perhaps fearing that employees would see her arriving with Ethan, Isabelle was eager to get out as soon as the car stopped. Sweetheart, am I that unpresentable? Ethan unbuckled his seatbelt and looked at her with a smirk, a flicker of feigned hurt in his eyes. Isabelle stiffened, turning to glare at him. I'll say it again, don't call me that. And, in the office, keep your distance from me. Keep your distance. She emphasized each of the last 3 words. Ethan rubbed his chin. How about a deal? From now on, you let me call you Izzy in private, and I'll agree to your 2 conditions. How about it? Though furious, Isabelle considered it. The deal was somewhat reasonable, given that she couldn't control the jerk's mouth anyway. However, she didn't voice her agreement, or he'd only push his luck further. Since you're not saying no, I'll take that as a yes, Ethan said, a hint of triumph in his voice. Isabelle got out and slammed the car door shut. As she turned, she saw a familiar face, Director Stevens, who had previously helped the Ashers pressure her, but was now supposedly reformed. He stood at the parking lot entrance, a sycophantic smile plastered on his face. Good morning, Ms. Thorne. Isabelle paused, then walked over, her voice cool. Director Stevens, you're here early. What can I do for you? That reality show project we discussed before the new year, the higher-ups said. Mr. Vance, good morning. Stevens, mid-sentence, caught sight of Ethan approaching and hurriedly greeted him. Ethan nodded in acknowledgement. He despised such spineless opportunists. If it weren't for Isabelle, he wouldn't have given Stevens the time of day. Continue. Just pretend I'm not here. Oh, I was just passing by, actually, and thought I'd let Ms. Thorne know. The production team decided at the last minute to change the original Sunday night airtime to Friday night. Also, it's going to be live instead of pre-recorded. And the original panel of veteran actors for judges has also been changed. The execs want to bring in people from various media companies to be judges. The project Stevens was referring to was an actor-centric talent show called Hollywood Hopefuls. It was supposedly aimed at aspiring actors who usually played extras, but in reality, most participants were potential stars scouted by major media companies or even newly signed faces. For instance, a newcomer from Elysian Media named Kimberly Frost was someone Isabelle had quietly sent to the show. Undoubtedly, the goal was to give these new talents exposure and help them build a fan base. Isabelle mulled it over, having media company people as judges. Are they trying to create some kind of on-the-spot signing gimmick? Stevens nodded eagerly. Exactly. We just want to make the show more impactful. Isabelle's voice was cool. You could have told me this over the phone. Did you really need to come all the way here? Director Stevens, if you have something to say, just say it. Stevens gave an embarrassed laugh. All right, I won't beat around the bush, Ms. Thorne. I came to invite you to personally represent Elysian Media as a judge on the show. Isabelle remained silent, lost in thought. Stevens continued, Ms. Thorne, think about it. If you appear in person, it shows the audience how much you value talent. This would be a huge boost for Elysian Media's reputation. And I suppose my Izzy's title as Port Sterling's It Girl wouldn't hurt your show's ratings either, huh? Ethan interjected suddenly, then looked at Isabelle, his expression full of adoration. Izzy, I'm not so desperate that I need you out there hustling for the company, am I? Isabelle had been considering the offer. Ethan's comment decided it for her. Fine, Director Stevens. I accept. Logically, Stevens should have been pleased his objective was met. Instead, he didn't dare show any joy, looking rather troubled. Ms. Thorne, perhaps we should just forget it. I think. Why forget it? Isabelle knew the spineless man was afraid of displeasing Ethan. She said irritably, "Are you trying to jerk me around?" No, no, no. Stevens waved his hands frantically, glancing furtively at Ethan. Though he couldn't quite read the young tycoon's expression, he could practically feel the displeasure radiating off him. A brilliant idea for an scapegoat struck him, and he promptly blamed the production team. Ms. Thorne, this is just a preliminary decision from the team. Why don't I go back and discuss it with them further? I'll give you an answer by noon at the latest. Before Isabelle could respond, Ethan chuckled. What's wrong? Isn't my Izzy good enough? You still need to discuss it. Stevens. Man, first you want her, then you don't. What do you want me to do? This is too hard. I can't win. Isabelle pressed her lips together, shot Ethan a glare, then looked at the flustered Stevens. It's settled. I'll participate. You can go back now. Ah, yes, good. I'll be on my way then. Stevens wiped a bead of cold sweat from his forehead and said obsequiously, Ms. Thorne, Mr. Vance, don't you worry. I'll make sure Kimberly Frost wins. Then Elysian and the champion, a match made in heaven. It'll be a great story. Ethan pursed his lips and sighed. Director Stevens, you're not a young man anymore. How can you still be so clueless? Some things, you just do them. Why say them out loud? Makes it sound like I told you to do it. Stevens, right? Kissing ass and showing loyalty are truly high arts. Not for amateurs. After Stevens left, the couple walked towards a company building. Ethan remarked, didn't realize you were such a rebel. Isabelle had no intention of engaging with him. She took out her phone and called Kimberly Frost. Are you at the office? The reply came, Ms. Thorne, I'm almost there. Good. Come to my office when you arrive. I need to talk to you. Hanging up, Isabelle stepped into the elevator, only then realizing that Ethan, who had been clinging to her like a leech just moments before, had vanished. The Ice Queen, thoroughly harassed, hastily pressed the closed door button. Only when the elevator began its ascent did she finally breathe a sigh of relief, muttering under her breath, that bastard, is his brain in his pants. 5 minutes later, Kimberly Frost arrived at the CEO's office. The young woman looked to be in her early 20s, with a sweet, innocent face. Judging by her attire, she seemed like a quiet university student. Ms. Thorne, Kimberly smiled demurely. Is there something you need? The chill on Isabelle's face thawed slightly. She smiled. Kimberly, no need to be so formal with me. Sit down. Kimberly nodded and sat down, looking a little uneasy. Isabelle continued. Ron Wallace's film, the one you were cast in, will probably be delayed by a month due to script issues. You should have received a notification, right? Yes, yes. Kimberly nodded. I got last night. Good, just so you know. There's one more thing. That talent show I signed you up for. The premiere has been moved to this Friday, and the production team plans to do it live. You need to prepare well and make sure there are no mistakes. Also, starting today, don't come to the company anymore to avoid anyone finding out you've already signed with us. You also need to be careful not to reveal to anyone that you're an Elysian artist now. Understand? I'll assign you an agent. You can ask her if you have any questions. Okay, Kimberly replied. Then, as if suddenly remembering something, her eyes widened. Friday, Isabelle gave her a questioning look. Is there a problem? Just then, there was a knock on the office door. Isabelle, assuming it was Wendy, whom she had sent to buy breakfast earlier, said, Come in. However, the person who pushed open the door was Ethan Vance, carrying a breakfast container. Mr. Vance. Kimberly quickly stood up to greet the new boss, whom she had heard of but never met. Ethan glanced at the unfamiliar young woman, nodded with a smile, then walked straight to Isabelle and handed her the breakfast. Ms. Thorne, you didn't eat this morning, did you? Here, congee with preserved egg and pork. Enjoy. Isabelle didn't reach for it, a puzzled look on her face. You went to buy breakfast? Then, how did he know I didn't eat? She wondered. Ethan noticed her confusion and smiled faintly. Last time, when the Ashers came to apologize, you were busy all morning and didn't even have lunch. I noticed your expression was a bit off, and you kept rubbing your stomach. I guess it was probably an upset stomach, right? Heh. This morning, in the car, you were unconsciously rubbing your stomach again. So I knew. Your stomach is sensitive, and you definitely didn't eat breakfast. Just as he finished speaking, there was another knock on the door, and when he walked in, also carrying a breakfast container. Ms. Thorne, I bought soy milk, and... The young assistant's voice trailed off when she saw the breakfast Ethan was offering Isabelle. She froze on the spot. Isabelle said, Bring it here. I'll have yours. Oh, Wendy replied, then immediately felt a chilling gaze from someone in the room, causing her to hesitate. Isabelle frowned. Bring it over. What are you waiting for? I have things to do, don't dawdle. Ethan stared intently, his expression growing colder. Wendy's imagination ran wild. Has this playboy made his wife angry again? But, please, you two, leave me out of it. This is too much for me. In a moment of desperation, the young assistant had a flash of inspiration. She pretended to take 2 steps forward, then accidentally lost her grip, and the soy milk spilled all over the floor. I'm so sorry, Miss Thorne. I'll clean this up right away. Please have Mr. Vance's breakfast, or your stomach will act up again. Isabelle. Honestly, I've raised a traitor. Thank you, Isabelle said, finally taking the congee. As she ate, she asked Kimberly, what were you about to say? Go on. Kimberly fidgeted with her fingers, somewhat afraid to look directly at Isabelle, and said timidly, Ms. Thorne, I can't easily take time off recently. Friday night. I probably won't be free. Isabelle rolled her eyes. You're a senior. You're not free on a Friday night. The university has a mandatory peer program for international students. It's for academic credit. If you don't have the participation record, they won't give you your diploma. For the past 3 years, I've been working part-time jobs and doing extra work, so I haven't had time for it. My academic advisor talked to me a couple of days ago and said I absolutely have to participate in the peer program for the new international students this month, otherwise I won't be able to graduate. For an entertainer, a good degree was a plus. Besides, the company couldn't interfere too much in an artist's personal life, at least not when it came to something as important as graduating. But what Isabelle couldn't understand was, what exactly was this international student peer program? Before she could ask, Ethan, who had made himself comfortable on the sofa, interjected, What's that supposed to mean? Wendy, who was cleaning the floor, paused, slowing her movements to surreptitiously listen in. Kimberly said awkwardly, The university wants us to help the international students adjust to the new environment. Ethan's expression gradually darkened. You have classes on Friday nights too? No. Then why say you don't have time for the show? Well, Kimberly became even more flustered, as if the words were difficult to say. There's a social mixer on Fridays. Ethan, realizing something, his face growing progressively grimmer. Isabelle frowned. Mr. Vance, control your emotions. Don't get agitated. Wendy, you're going to rub a hole in the floor tiles. Got nothing better to do? Kimberly, please sit down. Having temporarily pacified Ethan, and with Wendy having retreated from the office, Isabelle continued. Kimberly, your university's rules are their own business. But I believe this talent show is very beneficial for your future development. If you agree, I'll send an agent to negotiate with your university. Getting a leave of absence shouldn't be too difficult. Kimberly looked anxious. Ms. Thorne, getting leave once isn't hard, but if I ask for leave every week and don't attend the mixers, the university definitely won't agree. I'm really afraid it will affect my graduation. The young woman, hailing from a rural background, was from a very poor family and now had to care for her disabled, seriously ill father. She naturally had to be more cautious than others. So, even though she had a chance to become a star, she didn't dare slack off, feeling that only with a diploma in hand could she feel secure. After all, the entertainment industry was a shark tank. Whether she could make it was uncertain. If not, at least with a diploma, finding a decent job wouldn't be too hard. Isabelle's expression was grave. Kimberly, I hope you understand. Introducing you to Director Wallace, getting you endorsements, arranging this show for you on one hand, it's because I see your acting talent. On the other hand, frankly, it's because I see how hard things are for you, and I want to help. But I can give you these opportunities, and I can just as easily give them to someone else, understand? You need to learn to cherish them, and more importantly, learn to be responsible for yourself. This matter is settled. I'll have someone negotiate. If it doesn't work out, then we'll respect your wishes. Kimberly, meek and hesitant, had just uttered a thank. When Ethan spoke up, don't worry about a thing. Focus on preparing your performance. I'll handle the university. Kimberly froze, staring at Ethan in astonishment, speechless for a long moment. The company's big boss was actually going to step in for a background actor like her, someone from a humble background with virtually no current value. In the entire company, only a few A-list celebrities usually caught the boss's attention. Any difficulties other artists faced were mostly handled by the heads of PR and artist management. Isabelle glanced at Ethan, thought for a moment, then said to Kimberly, You can go back for now. I need to talk to Mr. Vance. Kimberly stood up, bowed to both bosses, and left the office. Ethan Vance, what are you planning to do? Isabelle asked as soon as the office door closed. Ethan crossed his legs, a half-smile on his face. I told you, if any artist in this company is being exploited, I'll take care of it. Isabelle countered, This is their university's regulation, not exploitation. Don't go causing trouble. Yeah, exploitation, so blatant, so shamelessly unaware, so sanctimonious. It can't even be called under the table anymore, huh? First time I've heard of anything like it in the whole world. Seeing his cynical expression, Isabelle felt a throbbing in her temples. Knowing his reckless nature, he was probably determined to interfere. Ethan Vance, let me state my position clearly. Personally, I also find this situation baffling, even infuriating. But ultimately, it's their university's internal affair. It's not for us to judge right or wrong. Ethan smirked, then said abruptly, "Dinner tonight?" Isabelle, I know I can't talk you out of it, but I hope you'll exercise some restraint. Don't blow things out of proportion, or it could implicate the company. Ethan, consider it a housewarming celebration for me. Isabelle clenched her fists. The company is doing really well right now. We can't afford any screw-ups, or we'll face a lot of breach of contract lawsuits. Ethan, there's a Chinese restaurant downstairs from our building. I hear it's pretty good. Isabelle. The completely mismatched conversation finally ended with Isabelle uttering a single, perfect word. Get out. The playboy was surprisingly obedient, practically skipping out of the office. Before leaving, he even had the audacity to say, "Sweetheart, you look beautiful. If you just smile a little then." He didn't get to finish the sentence. A folder came flying at him. If he hadn't shut the door quickly, it would have surely left a mark of affection on his face. Isabelle was fuming, her breathing ragged, her impressive chest heaving with a captivating rhythm. She cursed indignantly, "That bastard. Is his brain in his pants? Lust is clouding his judgment every single day. He'll get struck by lightning sooner or later." Ethan, who had just reached the tech department entrance, inexplicably sneezed. He rubbed his nose and pushed open the door. Jax was wearing headphones, his fingers flying across a keyboard. Ethan tapped on the desk. Only then did the hacker notice someone had entered. He took off his headphones and stood up. "Boss, what's up?" Ethan looked Jax up and down, then smiled faintly. "Come on, I'll take you to buy some clothes." Jax's eyes suddenly widened in delight. "For me?" "Yeah. Oh my God, that's so cool." The two brothers walked out of the office, chatting and laughing. As fate would have it, they ran straight into two unwelcome guests, Ryan Asher and Chloe Miller. Ethan didn't react much upon seeing them. He figured they were likely there to discuss terminating Chloe's contract. Jax, however, instantly scowled, glaring coldly at Ryan. Surprisingly, Ryan Asher had shed his recent timidity, yet he also lacked his initial arrogance. Instead, he appeared composed and even gentlemanly, extending a hand to Ethan with a smile. "Mr. Vance, we meet again." Ethan raised an eyebrow, glanced at Chloe, who stood cold as ice behind her sunglasses, and said playfully, "Mr. Asher, to what do I owe the pleasure?" Ryan appropriately humbled himself. "Mr. Vance, I came today to ask you to be magnanimous and forgive Chloe's and my own previous irrational behavior. Additionally, I'd like to discuss Chloe's contract termination. I know that what likely awaits Chloe is being sidelined by your company. So, Mr. Vance, do you think you could perhaps show some leniency regarding the penalty fee?" Ethan cut him off. "I don't want to interfere in your affairs. Go talk to Ms. Thorne directly." "All right, Mr. Vance. Then I won't disturb you further. I'll go find Ms. Thorne now." Ryan offered a standard smile, bowing slightly, but not in a way that seemed demeaning. Instead, he exuded an air of a refined gentleman. Throughout the exchange, Chloe Miller hadn't said a word, nor had she even looked at Ethan. The famous actress seemed to have had an epiphany of sorts, choosing to reconcile with her past. As for why she reconciled with Ryan, it was, at its core, mostly out of spite. She had never truly intended to leave him, and Ryan's apology had been undeniably sincere. A simple, "I just love you too much. I was afraid someone else would steal you away. That's why I lied to you." Coupled with his willingness to kneel before Ethan for her sake and Mrs. Miller's mediation, the two had thus patched things up. Seeing Ryan's reformed demeanor, Ethan gave a slight smile and walked off with Jax. As soon as they were in the elevator, Jax said, displeased, "Boss, you're not touching the Ashers. It's not just because you look down on them, is it? I think. Are you still looking out for that woman?" Ethan pursed his lips, annoyed with this mind reader. "Jax, do me a favor. When you have a moment, look up a guy from ancient history named Icarus. Just see if he deserved what he got." Jax asked, "What's that supposed to mean?" Ethan shot him a look, then, after a moment's thought, muttered, "That Asher punk. Something feels off about him." Jax shrugged. "I thought he was grovel." Sup? Groveling and supine. Yeah, that's it. Groveling whatever." Ethan shook his head. "That's just the surface. The look in his eyes. It's like he's not afraid of me anymore. Maybe even like he's biding his time, holding something back. Jax shrugged. Then I'll go take care of him. I wanted to do it for a while now, anyway. Forget it. A dead fish can't stir up any waves. Don't cause trouble. Ethan rolled his neck. This isn't Mexico. Jax's eyes lit up. Oh, my damn homeland. Such salt of the earth people. That's the phrase, right? Ethan sighed. Yes, exactly right. From now on, when you're out, don't tell anyone I taught you English. Jax, what's that supposed to mean? The elevator reached the ground floor. The two walked side by side to the parking lot. Jax looked at his own GTR, then at Ethan's, grinning. Boss, can we take yours? Come on, keys. Ethan, take yours. They're the same. Oh, for God's sake. Only the shell is the same. Yours is modified to race specs. Benny said it cost over 800 grand? Let me try it, come on. Fine, Ethan said with a half smile. Fight me. If you win, it's yours. The excited, expectant smile froze on Jax's face. He scrambled to open his car door and dived in. Ethan walked around to the passenger side. As soon as he got in, he called Benny. Still at the hospital? Benny, yeah. Kevin Chin's condition is still the same, stable for now. The doctor said they'll know more after the next surgery. Ethan thought for a moment, then said, come back to the office. You'll be driving Isabelle Thorne for the next couple of days. Oh, Benny responded. I'm on my way now. Ethan was about to hang up when he heard Benny muttering on the other end. Why does your horniness make my life harder? First, I serve the old man, then the son, now the daughter-in-law, and next it'll be the grandkids. And his old man still owes me that bonus. My life. Buddha, are you off duty today? Bless this degenerate monk, will ya? Benny, you're still on the line. The atmosphere froze for a few seconds, then was shattered by Jax's almost maniacal laughter. Ha ha, damn fool. Boss wants you to protect the missus. That Asher guy is acting shady. Benny, boss, I don't know if you'll believe me, but I must have just fallen asleep. I was talking in my sleep. Asher's acting shady? I'll go beat the crap out of him first, then send him to meet Buddha. Ethan pinched the bridge of his nose, exasperated. Sometimes I really want to kill both of you. Noon, outside the south gate of Port Sterling University, a sapphire blue GTR pulled over to the curb. A moment later, Jax, dressed in overalls with his blonde hair and pigtails, got out. Boss, are you sure I look like a college student dressed like this? For crying out loud. I'm 26. This feels ridiculous. Ethan, sitting in the passenger seat with no intention of getting out, looked Jax up and down and chuckled. You look the part. Be confident. Go on. Go have a nice chat with your fellow students. Jax pouted, fiddled with a button that looked ordinary but was actually a pinhole camera, and turned to enter the campus. Ethan reclined his seat and closed his eyes to rest. Not long after, Isabelle Thorne called. Chloe Miller wants to terminate her contract. I had legal do a preliminary estimate. Given that she hasn't caused any substantial damage to the company, the penalty fee is around $30 million. What are your thoughts? I'll go with whatever my wife says, Ethan said softly. There was a few seconds of silence on the other end, followed by the faint sound of Isabelle taking a sharp breath. Ryan and Chloe were probably still there, so she didn't blow up, her voice cool. Mr. Vance, please give me a clear answer. Ethan reined in his playful tone and smiled faintly. What are they saying? The Asher family's lawyer is here. From what he's saying, they want to negotiate it down to $22 million. Ethan fell silent, his eyes flickering for a moment. Tell them I'll handle this when I get back. Isabelle, how long will you be? If you miss me, I'll come back right now. The moment he finished speaking, Isabelle hung up. Ethan chuckled, rubbing his chin thoughtfully for a moment, then sent a text to Milo. Check who the Ashers have been in contact with recently, especially Preston Asher. If it were just Ryan Asher coming to the company, it might be because he loved Chloe Miller and was reluctantly trying to negotiate the contract. But with the Asher family lawyer present, the whole thing smelled different. The Ashers, father and son, had just been let off the hook. If no one was advising them, how would they dare show their faces again? Logically, shouldn't they be steering clear? Ethan sighed, muttering, I hope I'm just overthinking this. Sigh, I gave you a way out. Don't go looking for death. The spring sun was lukewarm, lifeless. Afternoon at Phoenix Crest Manor. In a waterside pavilion by the lake, the patriarch Theodore Vance was engrossed in a game of chess with his youngest son, Victor Vance. The old man looked well today, his mood visibly excellent, a rare, affable expression on his face. His eyes, narrowed in concentration, scanned the board, meticulously planning his strategy. He picked up a piece, deliberated for a long moment, then placed it. Then, he glanced up at his son. Your attack, son. I'm finding it hard to counter. Victor picked up a piece, pondered, and made his move. It's your grand design, father, that truly conceals the killing blow. Well, let me take that back. Nearly fell into your trap. The old man slapped the back of Victor's hand. You rascal. Oh well. Victor, his attempt to cheat foiled, threw up his hands in surrender. Fine, fine, let's start over. Theodore chuckled. Don't think I can't see you're letting me win on purpose. Victor grinned. Some things are better left unsaid, father. You're making it awkward for both of us. Theodore sighed, his lips pressed together as he gathered the chess pieces, placing them back into their box. He then turned to look at his eldest son and daughter, who were some distance away, and said abruptly, leave your brother and sister a way out. Don't push them to the brink. Victor paused, then smiled. We're all family, father. You worry too much. Your move. I'm not holding back this game. You're really not holding back? Victor looked into his father's eyes, hesitated, then said, if father wants me to hold back, then naturally, I will. The old man blinked, calmly picked up a piece, and placed it in the center of the board. Nearby, Ethan's uncle, Walter Vance, and aunt, Cassandra Vance, along with their respective families, were gathered, seemingly enjoying a cheerful game of cards and idle chatter. However, this cheerfulness was laced with a multitude of complex undercurrents, hypocrisy, probing questions, and thinly veiled sarcasm. After a round of familial sparring, perhaps finding it unengaging, they united over a topic that both sides could relish discussing, Ethan Vance. So, tell me, Ethan's aunt Cassandra began, the boy disappears for 8 years. Where'd he go? I honestly thought he died with his mother back then. Oof. Who knows? Ethan's uncle, Walter, said, a cigarette dangling from his lips, his tone dismissive. Look at him now. Clearly didn't learn anything good. He continued, I still remember when he came back 2 years ago. Victor went to his grandmother's place to pick him up, and Ethan just laid into him, cussed him out something fierce. Said he'd take care of his grandma, see her to her grave, and would rather die than return to the Vance family. Heh, and now, he's back, isn't he? At the end of the day, he couldn't resist the lure of money. Pathetic. Cassandra chimed in. Isn't that the truth? From what I hear, he bought a mansion, a few luxury cars, parties every night with a string of beauties. Non-stop scandals with starlets and influencers. And his attitude? Arrogant. Like he's afraid of nothing. A total brat with no sophistication whatsoever. Even with a minor issue like the Ashers, he needed his father to step in and clean up his mess. And he has the gall to say he'll help his father fight for the family fortune. Ha ha ha. As she finished, her daughter, Tiffany Vance, eagerly jumped in. I heard he jacked up the salaries and benefits for Elysian Media employees like way beyond what anyone else in the industry offers. I bet he was so repressed when he was a nobody, and now that he has money and status, he's just living out every tacky fantasy he ever had. Otherwise, what boss in their right mind would raise employee compensation that high? Ugh, so new money trash. He's just embarrassing the Vance name. One after another, they tore Ethan to shreds, as if doing so strengthened the bond between their two families, making their gatherings seem even more harmonious. Harrison Vance, the eldest son of the eldest son, quietly arranged his mahjong tiles, his gaze occasionally drifting towards his youngest uncle, Victor, who was playing chess with his grandfather. A thoughtful expression crossed Harrison's face. Meanwhile, at the entrance of Port Sterling University, it was almost 2:30 when Jax finally sauntered out of the campus. He opened the door of the GTR parked by the roadside, but didn't get in. Instead, he spoke to Ethan, who was lying flat in the passenger seat. Boss, got a lot of useful footage. Oh man, it's unbelievable. This place, it's basically an international student's paradise. Ethan said, get in, transfer the videos so I can see. I was thinking, maybe we could grab a bite at a fast food place. Watch while we eat. I'm starving. Ethan. They grabbed a laptop and went to a nearby KFC at the campus entrance. After each ordering a combo meal, Jax opened the laptop, rapidly transferred the covertly filmed videos, then hit play, turning the screen towards Ethan. In the videos, Jax, posing as an international student, chatted with other international students. After a brief introduction, he casually brought up the peer program. And every student he spoke to said things that were nothing short of shocking. Basically, we each get like 3 girls. You know, so many you can barely choose. The professors even encourage us to date. Last week's mixer, we went to karaoke bar. It was a special birthday party for me. Oh my god, we drank a lot. Later, something pretty amazing happened with one of the girls. You know, amazing. I don't even know her name. Actually, we don't need to remember their names because the school will swap them out for a new batch soon enough. I'm really happy studying here. What peer program? Oh, buddy, you've never been to a mixer, have you? Let me tell you a secret. We international students never call it a peer program. We rarely even call them mixers. It's more like, free party girls, you get me? Ha ha, you should really try it. Guaranteed satisfaction. Comments like these, and even cruder, more vulgar ones, were rampant. In the footage, every international student wore a blissful, radiant smile. When they mentioned the female students, their smiles would invariably be tinged with a playful, reminiscent look. It was the exact same expression friends might share when discussing the escorts they'd partied with at a VIP club recently. Ethan's expression was grim. He slowly closed the laptop, took a small sip of his soda, and asked Jax, "Edit this later. I want this video to appear on every big screen in the city. Can you do that?" Jax, devouring his food, shrugged. "Sorry, boss, that's a bit much. I can't be everywhere at once. But I can pick a few of Port Sterling's busiest spots and get on their screens. Then eat up. We've got work to do when you're done." Just as he finished speaking, 3 international students, 1 white, 2 black, walked into the KFC. Trailing behind each of them was a local female student. These 3 young women were exceptionally attentive, rushing to the counter as soon as they entered to order and pay for their male companions' meals. The 3 international students happened to sit at the table next to Ethan and Jax. They were loud, dropping F-bombs and calling the girls bitches, pointing and laughing lewdly. Jax swallowed his food and said to Ethan in a low voice, "Boss, to be honest, I'm really tempted to punch someone." Ethan's eyes were cold. He stared at the 3 students for a moment. Then a thoughtful look crossed his face. He got up and went outside to make a call. When a young tycoon returned, he didn't sit down. A strange half-smile played on his lips. He said to Jax, "You go on ahead. Get to work." Jax looked puzzled. "Boss, what are you going to do?" "I'm not in a great mood," Ethan said, looking at the 3 students, a malicious grin spreading across his face. "Feel like hitting someone." Elysian Media. Isabelle Thorne was discussing Chloe Miller's contract termination with Mr. Albright, the head of the legal department, when Wendy burst in, flustered. Whatever had happened must have been serious. The young assistant had even forgotten to knock. Ms. Thorne, bad news." Isabelle glanced up at her, her voice cool. "What happened? Why are you in such a panic?" Wendy fumbled anxiously with the tablet in her hands, stammering, Mr. Vance is trending again." Isabelle rolled her eyes. "Another scandal with some starlet?" Wendy shook her head vigorously, like a drum rattle, and thrust the tablet in front of Isabelle. "Look, he beat up 3 international students from Port Sterling University. This is a video someone at the scene filmed. The internet is blowing up, everyone's saying Mr. Vance is abusing his power and wealth, just doing whatever he wants. Mr. Albright, holy crap, here we go again. And this is a big one. That salary increase sure wasn't for nothing." Isabelle was stunned. She took the tablet and watched the viral video from beginning to end. It was only a dozen seconds long, clearly edited. It started with Ethan furiously lunging at the 3 students. Only after he struck did they begin to fight back. There were other versions, filmed slightly later, mostly showing the police arriving and taking Ethan away. What is that bastard doing? Isabelle felt a throbbing in her temples. After a moment's thought, she said to Wendy, "Tell PR not to issue any immediate statements. Notify security to deploy all guards to the company entrance to prevent reporters from swarming in." "Got it, Ms. Thorne." Before Isabelle could give further instructions, Mr. Albright spoke up. "I'll arrange for a few people to go to the scene and assess the situation right away." "Good." Isabelle maintained the composure expected of a CEO. "The restaurant must have surveillance footage. Find a way to get a copy back here. After you've delegated that, go directly to the detective squad and find out from Mr. Vance what exactly happened." "Will do." After they left, Isabelle's brow furrowed. This was no small matter. The CEO of a major company getting into a brawl with 3 international students? It was a PR nightmare waiting to happen. She could already imagine the clickbait headlines accusing Ethan of bullying, arrogance, lawlessness, even racism. The list of potential accusations was endless. And there would undoubtedly be malicious parties eager to fabricate all sorts of damaging narratives about Ethan, embellishing the incident to escalate it to an uncontrollable crisis. Isabelle was well-versed in public relations and knew the tactics of these gossip blogs. Whenever a local got into a conflict with a foreigner, they'd react as if their own family had been attacked, hiding behind a facade of national politeness while completely disregarding the facts, furiously typing away, determined to tear the person to shreds online. Just as Isabelle was consumed with worry, Kimberly Frost, the unwitting catalyst for the incident, called, her voice frantic. "Ms. Thorne, about Mr. Vance. I just saw Isabelle feigned calmness. It has nothing to do with you. Don't overthink it. But if I hadn't said anything, Mr. Vance wouldn't have. I said, this has nothing to do with you. Go to your classes, practice for the show, and don't worry about other things. That's all. I'm busy, gotta go. After hanging up, Isabelle, her heart heavy, went to the PR department. The entire department was abuzz, focused on Ethan's situation. Ms. Thorne, the online sentiment is very unfavorable towards Mr. Vance. Ms. Jenkins, the PR manager, said, turning her computer screen towards Isabelle. The screen was filled with scathing condemnations of Ethan. Rich kid punks are always so arrogant. People like him are societal vermin. They should be severely punished. Investigate their Vance dynasty and Elysian media. But they're not clean either. The video's edited. Truth is hard to tell. Waiting for the police to release the facts. Still some morons saying truth is hard to tell. Assault is assault. He's disgracing our country. Reading these inflammatory comments, Isabelle's mood grew even heavier. At the detective squad, Eva Rostova, who had personally handled the brawl at the scene and, ignoring Ethan's request for medical attention, had brought him straight in, finished taking his statement. She looked at Ethan, who was sitting opposite her, legs crossed, a slight bruise on his jaw. Uncross your legs, she commanded sternly. He pouted, but reluctantly complied. Eva closed her notebook, set it aside, and stared at Ethan for a moment before speaking. Impressive. 1 against 3, and you held your own. Oof. So tell me, you're not usually an impulsive person. What was today's performance all about? Ethan smiled faintly. When it comes to matters of right and wrong, there's no such thing as impulsiveness. I'm reasonably fit. Letting those 3 clowns land a few punches on me is actually quite embarrassing. In truth, if he hadn't deliberately held back, the 3 students probably wouldn't have even touched him. Eva's brow furrowed. Don't play games with me. Those 3 students are at the hospital undergoing injury assessments. The officer Palavershev with them just messaged me. They deny making any inappropriate remarks. The restaurant surveillance audio is unclear. It only shows you attacking them without provocation. As it stands, you're looking at serious consequences. Ethan didn't seem flustered, adopting an air of indifference. Whatever the consequences, seeing this recklessly defiant expression on the face of her half-brother, Eva felt a surge of anger. She knew this playboy didn't need to worry about any consequences. Victor Vance had countless ways to smooth things over for him. But if this had happened to an ordinary person, they'd be looking at either bankrupting themselves to pay for a settlement or facing several years in prison. Ethan Vance. Do you know why I've always despised the Vance family? It's because the Vances never play by the rules. What's that got to do with me? Ethan retorted brazenly. I'm an outsider too, remember? The siblings stared at each other, one furious, the other shameless. Ethan smirked. To be honest, sometimes I almost feel sorry for that old man, Victor. He should have just had those 2 girls. Neither of us should have been born. Look at us. One of us is constantly trying to arrest him. The other is endlessly causing him trouble. It's pretty tragic. If he hadn't done anything dirty, would I be trying to arrest him? The law doesn't play favorites. Ethan pursed his lips, upholding justice without fear or favor, disowning all relatives. My dear sister, we need more cops like you. You're a suspect right now. Don't call me sister. We're not that close. Several officers nearby, listening to the siblings bicker, exchanged uneasy glances. Just then, a young officer who was scrolling through social media on his phone suddenly exclaimed, "Whoa, big news from PSU again. What's going on? Let me see. It's videos of international students talking about the peer program. Holy crap, this is explosive." Eva froze for a moment. Just as she was about to get up to see what this peer program was all about, her phone rang. It was the officer at the hospital. Captain Rostova, several university administrators are here. They're having the 3 students sign settlement agreements. Did they sign? 2 have already signed. The 3rd one is signing now. What about the injury assessments? The administrators said they're not doing them. They want to handle this privately. Eva slammed her hand on the table, glaring at Ethan, and said angrily, "Your father sure pulls a lot of strings. He cleaned up your mess this quickly." Ethan shrugged. "You're probably blaming the wrong father. I doubt he did this." "Then who did?" "Huh, sister, you're just like me. Away from home for so many years. It seems there are many things you don't know either." Elysian Media, PR department. An employee was the first to spot the explosive videos online. "Quick, look at this. Huge story breaking," she exclaimed excitedly. Everyone gathered around. When they saw the content of the videos, their spirits instantly lifted. "Ms. Thorne, should we boost this?" This is way bigger news than Mr. Vance's fight, and we could use it to. Before the employee could finish, Isabelle cut her off. Wait, don't rush. The others were puzzled, but didn't dare question her. Ms. Jenkins, the PR manager, looked thoughtful. Such a golden opportunity, not to use the public outrage to overshadow Mr. Vance's scandal? What were they waiting for? Was Ms. Thorne really not worried about her husband? Little did she know, Isabelle had figured out that Ethan was planning to go head-to-head with Port Sterling University. These videos were undoubtedly his handiwork. The assault incident could be managed, especially if the Vance family intervened. But confronting PSU directly? That was a battle with no room for retreat, one that could only escalate. That bastard, Isabelle thought, this is his idea of handling it? I thought he'd just argue with Kimberly's advisor at most. Does he have a death wish? Taking on PSU, Port Sterling University, founded 30 years ago, though a private institution, had risen to the ranks of prestigious universities years ago. It was one of the few private institutions in the country even allowed to use university in its name, a testament to its powerful backing. It wasn't an entity a wealthy businessman could easily offend. The more the beautiful CEO thought about it, the colder her heart grew. Her face clouded with worry. After much deliberation, and disregarding the risk of making things worse, she made a decision. Boost it, but keep it low-key. Don't make it too obvious. Phoenix Crest Manor. Victor Vance had just checkmated his father on the chessboard again. He picked up his teacup and chuckled. Another game, Dad? I'm getting old, Theodore Vance said with a hint of resignation, glancing at his youngest son, his voice laden with meaning. Really old, Victor replied. Then shall I help you back to rest? The weather's nice today, but the wind by the lake is still quite chilly. Theodore slowly gathered the chess pieces. Victor, he said calmly, tell me about your son. That good for nothing? What's there to say? Victor sighed. I just feel I owed him too much in the past. Now that he's back with the Vances, I want him to enjoy life a bit. Sigh. He just lacks discipline, kind of tarnishing the family name. I'll have a good talk with him later. The old man smiled faintly. When he was little, I disciplined him because he didn't act like a child. A few days ago, I disciplined him because he was acting too much like a child. Tell me, what's the mystery here? Victor remained impassive. He spent so many years abroad, probably didn't learn anything good. He certainly deserved it. Theodore pursed his pale lips. After collecting all the pieces, he muttered, afraid he takes after you. Victor, shameless, replied, when it comes to womanizing, he's definitely inherited my skills. Father and son spoke in riddles, as if conversing in the clouds. Not far away, the two families, Walter's and Cassandra's, who had been enjoying themselves, suddenly grew agitated. It started when Ethan's aunt, Cassandra, received a call. Mr. Vance, the voice on the phone said, presumably addressing her husband, Walter, your nephew has done something major. An hour ago, he was in a fight at PSU. It's all over the internet, and he's at the detective squad now. But here's something interesting. Now there's a whole scandal about PSU breaking online. I had someone look into it. Don't know who posted it, but Elysian's PR department is working overtime. Before that call ended, Ethan's uncle, Walter, also received a call with roughly the same information. Then, the siblings, with a shared understanding, opened a social media platform to see Ethan's handiwork. Ethan's cousin, Tiffany, leaned over her mother's shoulder. Seeing the video of 3 foreigners versus 1 rich, pretty boy, her eyes widened. Mom, what is he doing? He's acting like a street punk, fighting again. The notoriously arrogant and domineering Cassandra, Vance barely suppressed her delight. He finally gets acknowledged by the family, and now he doesn't know his place anymore? Ha ha ha. Brother, she said to Walter, this PSU scandal breaking now. Do you think he's connected to it? Walter Vance shook his head with a smile. Could it be a coincidence? Our dear little nephew. Always thinking he's so clever. Look, he just finished fighting, and then someone posts videos about that peer program online. That's a classic PR move entertainment companies use for damage control. It must be his pretty little wife pulling strings behind the scenes. The siblings tacitly agreed, convinced they had seen through their nephew's despicable tactics, completely misinterpreting the situation. Ethan's cousin, Tiffany, picked up the thread. But isn't he like shooting himself in the foot here? Ha ha. That idiot, he probably has no idea who's really behind PSU, does he? Cassandra sneered. He's been away for so many years. How would he know? Oh, I'm so worried Grandpa Theodore will faint from anger. Mom, I'm going to tell Grandpa right now. Let him enjoy the news too. Soon, Tiffany skipped down the corridor and cheerfully entered the waterside pavilion. Grandpa, Uncle Victor. Theodore glanced at her and smiled. Not playing cards with your mother and the others? What brings you here? Hee. I have something to tell Uncle Victor. Victor looked puzzled. Sweetie, what is it? Tiffany, suppressing her glee, pursed her lips slightly. Uncle Victor, you've been so absorbed in chess, you probably don't even know what your precious son has been up to, do you? Victor looked thoughtful, picking up his teacup. What's he done now? Him? He beat up 3 international students from PSU. The internet is exploding. It's all news condemning him. Victor's face turned slightly pale. Well, I'll discipline him later. A fight is not a big deal. Not a big deal. It's not a big deal, considering who he fought. Victor's eyes suddenly widened. He instinctively glanced at his father, then said dryly, easy to handle, easy to handle. He then picked up his teacup and gulped down 2 mouthfuls of tea to calm his nerves. The old man's face was ashen, his voice filled with anger. That damn rascal. A cunning glint flashed in Tiffany's eyes. I saw online, Uncle Ethan had just beaten those guys up, and less than an hour later, PSU was hit with a scandal. He wouldn't be trying to go against PSU, would he? Victor instantly spat out a mouthful of tea. He looked at his father fearfully, stunned for a long moment, then forced a smile and stammered, Dad, the fact that you're a PSU board member. Apart from the other board members and a handful of top university officials, only our family knows. Ethan just returned to the Vances. Sigh, that prodigal son. Theodore Vance took a deep breath, his sparse eyebrows knitting together. Your wonderful son, he said grimly. Is he trying to dig up his ancestors' graves now? That animal. He's just useless mud that can't be plastered onto a wall. Just as he finished speaking, Lily, a maid, hurried over, holding Theodore's phone, and said timidly, Master, call. It's been ringing repeatedly. Theodore didn't even need to think. At this time, anyone calling him would either be other board members or the president of PSU. Sure enough, the caller was President Young of PSU. Mr. Vance, bad news. Your grandson. I know all about it. Get to the point. How do you plan to handle it? We went to the hospital immediately to appease the 3 international students. We got settlement agreements, and no injury reports were filed. We were thinking of getting your grandson out first, then resolving this privately. But before we could even get to the police station, the peer program scandal broke. The other board members are all saying, it was your grandson's doing. The old man's voice was stern. Don't worry about saving my face. Handle it as it should be handled. All right, then I'll issue a clarification first. As for your grandson, I'll just leave him be for now. Mind your own damn business. President Young, I oppose your peer program proposal from the very beginning. Not only did you not listen, but you also ganged up with other board members to pressure me. Look at this. You've really brought honor to my name, haven't you? If this isn't handled properly, you can forget about being president. President Young stammered. I was only trying to improve the university's ranking, so I emulated other schools. Besides, it's not really like that. It's just that a very small number of international students have poor character. That's why. Before he could finish, Theodore Vance furiously hung up the phone. He then grabbed a nearby teacup and hurled it at his youngest son. I always believed a tiger father wouldn't sire a dog son. He raged, but your precious boy? He doesn't even qualify as a dog son. Assaulting people in broad daylight. Lawless and audacious. Who gave him the courage? Was it you? A layer of cold sweat had already formed on Victor's forehead. Splashed with water and tea leaves, he looked utterly wretched. I'll definitely discipline him properly later. Discipline? Too late for that. Theodore's breathing was heavy. He was clearly livid. After catching his breath for a moment, he said coldly, let your brother and sister's families handle that overseas project. You withdraw. Stay home and educate your child. Dad! Victor suddenly became agitated, but seeing the unyielding look in Theodore's eyes, he could only shut his mouth. After a pause, he nodded. I understand. The old man snorted, picked up the cane resting beside him, and Lily quickly reached out to support him. She then helped Theodore leave the waterside pavilion. Tiffany Vance, who had been standing aside enjoying the show, suppressed a laugh and said sarcastically, Uncle Victor, I heard from Mom that you were the main driving force behind that overseas project. Mom and Uncle Walter were just your right and left hands, at best. Now Grandpa is making you withdraw. TSK. Must hurt, right? Get lost. You disrespectful brat. Victor, his face flushed with anger, cursed. As his niece excitedly ran out of the pavilion, eager to report the good news to her mother, the dashing third son of the Vance family suddenly corked his lips, a strange glint of amusement in his eyes. One family, 800 ulterior motives. Ethan Vance had actually known all along that the biggest power behind Port Sterling University was his own grandfather. When he first heard Kimberly Frost mention PSU that morning, he had initially been hesitant, only planning to have Jax covertly film some videos to anonymously embarrass PSU and use public opinion to force them to cancel the disgusting peer program, doing a good deed without seeking recognition. After all, within the entire Vance dynasty, who in their right mind would dare to personally provoke the old man? Forget about even dreaming of competing for the family fortune later. Not being kicked out of the family would be considered an act of mercy from Theodore. But when he saw those 3 international students in KFC, he reconsidered. Why not blow things up, put on a show for those secretly observing him? He would inevitably be caught in a storm of public opinion. If he released Jax's videos a bit later, people would just assume it was emergency PR, not a deliberate act. To his uncle and aunt, wouldn't this just look like him being clueless and digging his own grave? The main strategy was to play the fool. However, he wasn't sure of the old man's tolerance limit, and was somewhat hesitant. That's why he had called Victor to discuss his idea. At that time, Victor had just been cautioned by his father to leave a way out for his older brother and sister. In fact, Theodore had recently, in a nonchalant way, pointed out that Victor was being too autocratic with the overseas project. It was supposed to be a joint venture among the 3 families, but Victor was running it like his own personal project. The implication was clear. Victor was always overshadowing his 2 siblings in business and should concede when necessary. After hearing his son's plan, Victor had agreed instantly, without a shred of hesitation. He told Ethan, "Cause as much trouble as possible. The angrier your grandfather gets, the better." He knew that if the old man got angry, he would definitely use this incident to make Victor withdraw from the overseas project, leaving it for the other 2 families. Although that project was a lucrative piece of meat, it had to be discarded when necessary. Firstly, it would please the old man. Secondly, the greater the profit, the fiercer the 2 families would fight over it later. You can't catch a wolf if you're not willing to sacrifice the bait. Consider it spending a sum of money to leisurely watch the tigers fight from a mountaintop. Why not? Father and son had, with a shared understanding, made an excellent move. Pity those 2 families, still kept in the dark, convinced that Ethan was an incompetent playboy, completely unworthy of concern. At the same time, they were currently intoxicated by the good news that Theodore had made Victor withdraw from the overseas project. Little did they know, the father-son duo had gone to such great lengths to cook up this whole scheme precisely to feed them this mouthful of honey. 3 days passed in a blink. Saturday morning, having attended the Hollywood Hopefuls show the previous night and then discussed the program's general direction with director Stevens, Isabelle Thorne hadn't gotten home until 2 in the morning. She'd had less than 5 hours of sleep. Since it was her day off, she planned to sleep in, but she was jolted awake by her phone ringing. The Ice Queen was slightly irritated. She let the phone ring for a while before struggling to open her drowsy eyes. Fumbling on the nightstand, she found her phone and squinted at the screen. It was Victor Vance. "Hello, Uncle Vic." Isabelle instinctively started to call him Uncle, then caught herself as her mind cleared. She corrected herself. "Dad." "Sweetie, did Dad wake you?" Victor chuckled warmly. "No, I was just about to get up." "Dad, it's so early. Is something wrong?" Victor sighed. "Ethan's detention period is up. He's being released at 8 o'clock sharp. I'm on my way to the detention center now. If you have time, could you come too?" In fact, after the brawl 3 days prior, the 3 involved students had chosen to settle that same day, and no injury reports were filed. Logically, Ethan shouldn't have been detained, but his overly impartial sister, Eva, one might even say she harbored some personal grudges, had him sent to the city holding facility for 3 days on charges of disturbing the peace. After Victor left Phoenix Crest Manor that day, he had originally headed straight for the detective squad to pick up his son. However, just as he arrived at the entrance, he received news of his eldest daughter's by-the-book actions. Coincidentally, the police detective, who forsook the life of a wealthy heiress to earn a meager salary serving the people, was standing in the precinct courtyard, glaring menacingly at his Maybach. The outwardly glamorous but inwardly pitiable father didn't even dare open his car door, frantically patting his driver's arm and urging, "Go, go, go. Let's get out of here." At the same time, Elysian Media's legal team witnessed all this. After some deliberation, they called Isabelle. "Ms. Thorne, Mr. Vance is going to be detained for 3 days. But I just saw his father doesn't seem to be getting involved." Though Isabelle was suspicious, if Victor Vance wasn't intervening, it certainly wasn't her place to. So, she took no action either. It was just unfortunate for the young master. Despite his immense backing, he was single-handedly thwarted by his own sister and had no choice but to accept the punishment. Now, hearing Victor's request, Isabelle naturally didn't dare refuse. In her heart, she felt the Thorne family owed Victor Vance too much. The least she could do was comply with his wishes, even though she was inwardly reluctant to go pick up that playboy. He had caused such a mess. Even after 3 days, online opinions about Elysian Media were still mixed, with both praise and criticism, causing its artists and many business partners to be on edge, fearing further trouble. Some said, PSU is too deferential to foreigners. They spoil their international students. We believe Mr. Vance wouldn't just hit someone without reason. Those 3 must have said something foul. Others said, PSU's peer program is indeed outrageous. But is that a reason for him to resort to violence? Who has proof that those 3 students were also scumbags? Show it. As for PSU, these 3 days have been a relentless barrage of online condemnation. It was a chorus of curses and denunciations. Some extremists even went to the university and threw rotten eggs at President Young. The situation was still escalating. No matter how the university tried to clarify, even if they dredged up some B-list celebrity's sex scandal as a diversion, the public wasn't buying it. After hanging up, Isabelle glanced at the time. It was exactly 7 o'clock. She hurried to wash up and do her makeup. Saturday morning traffic wouldn't be bad. It would take about half an hour to get to the detention center, just enough time. Reaching the underground parking garage, Isabelle stepped out of the elevator and hurried towards her Maserati, fumbling in her bag for the keys as she walked. Halfway there, she faintly heard someone humming a song. The sound seemed to be coming from near her car. Its chemistry, bad sign, can't look away. The singing was muffled, a man's gruff voice. When he hummed certain words, it sounded like he was exerting effort, his tone involuntarily becoming heavier. Isabelle, puzzled and astonished, paused for a moment, then began to walk softly, ensuring her heels made no sound, slowly moving towards her car. As she got closer, she noticed that in the dim light, the car body was gently shaking. The beautiful sofa grew even more suspicious. Since the parking spot was in a surveillance blind spot, she thought for a moment, then took out her phone, opened the video recording function, and tiptoed to the rear of the car, extending her phone towards the left side. On the screen, a burly, bear-like man appeared, holding a wrench, squatting on the ground, and strenuously removing the car's front left tire. Think I'm catching a fever. Benny removed the tire, effortlessly lifting it. As he turned, the song he was humming seamlessly transitioned into a muttered, "Shit." Isabelle stood with her arms crossed, glaring up at the large man who towered over her, her expression icily composed. Benny stood awkwardly for a long moment, then forced a dry laugh. "Missus, you're up early, huh? Hiv. You can see me?" Isabelle. Benny, wishing he could disappear on the spot, stared blankly, swallowed hard, then guiltily lowered his head and mumbled, "Missus, beat me, scold me. I'll take it. But this has nothing to do with the boss. Nothing at all, really. He didn't tell me to do it. And last time your tire was stolen, it wasn't me either, really it wasn't." Isabelle was completely speechless. She knew this big guy used to be Victor Vance's bodyguard and driver, and later became Ethan Vance's driver. She had assumed Victor had assigned him to protect Ethan. But listening to him now, his relationship with Ethan seemed much closer. He even called him boss. What was the story there? Isabelle couldn't be bothered to think about it. The father-son duo was already baffling enough. It was a puzzle she couldn't solve, so better not to meddle. "Take me to the detention center," Isabelle said, glancing at the nearby G-Wagon. She paused, then added coolly, "Your missus count is high, judging by the online rumors. So don't call me that." Benny, looking like a big dumb animal, replied, "They're all the little ones." "No, Anyway, you're the main missus." Isabelle rolled her eyes and started walking towards the G-Wagon. "Missus, I'll just take this tire then, okay?" Benny followed closely behind. "Don't call me missus." "Oh, got it, missus." "Slow down, missus. Are we going to pick up my boss, missus?" "Missus, say something." 8 o'clock on the dot. City Holding processed the releases. Ethan Vance sauntered out through the iron gates, his eyes falling on a Maybach and a GTR parked to the curb. Victor Vance stood beside the Maybach, a cigarette dangling from his lips, while a chauffeur in a crisp suit and a perpetually grim expression held an umbrella for him. Seeing his son emerge, Victor hurried over. "Son, glad you're out. Rough time." He took the large black umbrella from the chauffeur and quickly held it over Ethan's head. "Cozy, actually," Ethan said with a faint smile, glancing towards Jax and Lily by the GTR. "Mr. Vance," Jax said, a nod of deference in Victor's direction, making him opt for formality over his usual boss. Lily, holding a thick, white cashmere robe, rushed forward and draped it over Ethan's shoulders. Her voice was a mixture of shyness and concern. Mr. Ethan, you must have suffered. What are you doing here, kid? Ethan's gaze flickered over Lily's calloused hands before settling on her blushing face. 3 days in holding, Lily, not hard time. No suffering involved. Just then, another figure approached hesitantly. Mr. Vance. Everyone turned. Only Ethan recognized Kimberly Frost. What are you doing here? Ethan frowned. Kimberly stepped forward nervously. I asked at the detective squad. I knew you were getting out today, and I don't have classes, so I can't pick you up. Ethan pursed his lips. That whole mess had nothing to do with you. Don't feel any pressure about it. Kimberly opened her mouth, the words, thank you, dying on her lips. After a moment's hesitation, she looked up suddenly. Oh, right, Mr. Vance, the university has a new president, and they've expelled over 30 international students who had disciplinary records. The new president is making a statement online right now. Ethan had heard about it the night before. His grandfather had personally issued the order and selected the new president. Victor had mentioned it when he visited him in holding. The whole incident was finally, perfectly resolved. 3 days detained in exchange for a considerable payoff. Not a bad trade. Good riddance, Ethan feigned surprise. As he spoke, a black G-Wagon pulled up smoothly. Isabelle Thorne stepped out. She glanced at Lily, who was fussing with Ethan's collar, then at Kimberly Frost standing awkwardly before him. Her expression unreadable, she walked over. Daddy, she seemed unsure how to address her pseudo-husband in front of Victor, so she skipped it and asked coolly, Are you okay? Ethan's lips curved. Food, drink, a place to stay. Not bad. Were you worried about me? Isabelle pressed her lips together, saying nothing. Victor cleared his throat with a slight cough, a smile playing on his face. All right, Ethan, Izzy, come back to the manor with me. Your grandfather wants to see you both. Isabelle's mind blanked. See me? For what? The memory of Theodore Vance railing at his son and grandson sent a shiver down her spine. Ethan knew this was an ordeal he couldn't escape. At worst, it would be a few whacks with a cane, nothing he couldn't handle. Let's go, he said quietly. Sooner we get it over with, the better. He looked at Jax and, gesturing towards Kimberly, said, Take her PSU first, then you and Lily head back. Then to the driver of Isabelle's G-Wagon, Benny, Izzy and I will ride with you. Kimberly, outmaneuvered by Jax's polite insistence, got into the GTR. Watching the Maybach and G-Wagon drive off, an inexplicable weight settled in her chest. The chasm between her world and theirs, how many generations of struggle did it represent? She couldn't even begin to imagine. In her eyes, just being able to support herself and her paralyzed father was a rare form of wealth. In the back of the G-Wagon, Isabelle and Ethan sat far apart. The Ice Queen stared out the window, her thoughts a jumble. How was she going to face Theodore Vance? On the other hand, she found it odd. On the way over, she'd braced herself for Ethan's usual endless stream of sarcastic remarks. But the playboy seemed subdued, not a single wisecrack escaping him. Turning her head, she glanced at him. Ethan was leaning against the window, his narrow eyes slightly squinted, one hand gently massaging his temples. Looks like he didn't rest well, Isabelle thought, a small sigh of relief escaping her. Just as she was about to turn back, Ethan spoke. If you want to look openly. No need to sneak. I don't charge. Isabelle shot him a glare and said nothing. Ethan just smiled and continued to rub his temples. Truthfully, he hadn't slept well for days. His head was fuzzy, throbbing with a dull ache. He wasn't in the mood for banter. Besides, the 3 days of enforced quiet had somewhat calmed his inexplicably agitated heart. Most love affairs, he mused, started with lust at first sight. That fleeting glance at the wedding. It had thrown him for a loop for a moment. What man, upon first seeing a creature like Isabelle Thorne, wouldn't lose his composure? But at the time, he hadn't entertained any such notions. He knew their charade of a marriage wasn't real. Until that slap, that had completely pried open the door to his heart. It was hard to imagine. This young master, accustomed to a lifetime of neglect, suddenly being shielded by a woman. What had that felt like? The affection might have been fake, but the stirring in his heart was real. Now, though, he felt his own reaction might have been too intense. With a woman this cold, too much warmth would likely backfire. Benny, driving distractedly, kept glancing at the rearview mirror. Seeing the two of them as distant as strangers, the silence in the car thick with awkwardness, he couldn't help but purse his lips. Man, what is this thing called love? The world says a good bowl of chili is better. Kind of craving a decent chili dog right now. Ethan's eyes flickered open. He glanced at Benny. What are you mumbling about? Ethan couldn't help but chuckle. His big, lovable goofball of a brother was always like this. He'd probably have a hard time finding a wife. Just then, a message popped up from Milo. You out? Ethan replied, yeah. What's the status on that thing I asked you to check? Milo, still looking. The Asher family seems clean so far. Ethan put his phone away. After a moment of thought, he looked at Isabelle. Has Ryan Asher been by to see you again? Isabelle took a breath. He came by every day for the past 3 days. She paused, then added, he was looking for you. Didn't you tell him to wait? Ethan stroked his chin, muttering, my arrest was all over the news. He didn't know. I think he's deliberately trying to mess with me. I don't know, Isabelle said coolly. Ethan sighed, rubbing his temples. He turned to Isabelle, a roguish grin on his face. Why the long face? Who pissed you off? Benny's eyes suddenly widened. He felt a chill run down his spine. Isabelle snapped. Ethan Vance, are you planning to open a tire shop? Why are you always messing with my tires? Ethan pressed his tongue against the inside of his cheek, silent for a moment. Then he pointed at Benny. I'm reporting him. This was all his doing, his idea. Nothing to do with me. This big guy, he's seriously bad news. Weighs over 200 pounds, and at least 200 of it is pure malice. Benny. Right. You're so noble, so high and mighty. Isabelle fumed. Tell it to someone who'll believe you. What do you want? Are you not happy unless you provoke me every single day? Ethan made a surrendering gesture, his voice laced with mock grievance. I just think you work so hard, and you have to drive yourself. So tiring, right? From now on, I'll be your driver. I don't need one. Then how about this? Ethan said, feigning thoughtfulness. From now on, this big lug can be your driver? I'll take a step back. You take a step back. As he spoke, Ethan raised his hand, as if to pat Isabelle's shoulder reassuringly. Unexpectedly, Isabelle's reaction was extreme. She jerked back violently, like a startled bird, glaring at Ethan with a warning in her eyes. Don't touch me. Ethan paused, then shrugged. Settled then. Benny, from now on, you drive your sister-in-law properly. Got it. My life, I swear. Ethan leaned back into his seat. He recalled the night Isabelle had cut him with that knife. The Ice Queen's reactions often seem unusual. After a moment of thought, he took out his phone again and sent a message to Milo. Do a deep dive on Isabelle Thorne for me. Milo, boss, you think I'm Google incarnate or something? Ethan, yes. Milo, fine. Theodore Vance's private courtyard, christened the Eyrie, was situated at the highest point of Phoenix Crest Manor, nearly at the summit. In ancient times, such a presumptuous location would have earned its owner a sentence of execution for his entire clan, or at the very least, the slaughter of his whole household. The wind and snow on the mountain were far more biting than in the city. The moment she stepped out of the car, Isabelle couldn't help but shiver, hunching her shoulders and pulling her coat tighter, her expression tinged with apprehension. Victor Vance glanced at 2 other luxury cars parked outside the courtyard, a half-smile playing on his lips. He said to Ethan, your uncle and aunt are waiting to see your show. Ethan pursed his lips and glanced at Isabelle. Don't worry. Isabelle nodded slightly. After a moment's hesitation, she tucked her hands into her sleeves and awkwardly took Ethan's arm. As they walked, she asked, are you going to get hit today? Ethan's eyelids drooped. His head still seemed to ache, giving him a somewhat sickly appearance. What do you think? Don't talk back, Isabelle said, her voice filled with trepidation. Worried about me? Go to hell, Isabelle muttered. I'm afraid you'll drag Dad into it again. Dad? Ethan raised an eyebrow, a strange smile on his face. Victor Vance, startled, then overjoyed, exclaimed, huh? Son, what did you just call me? For so many years, when had this rebellious son ever called him Dad? Isabelle. Ethan's expression froze. I wasn't talking to you. Victor looked utterly bewildered. Not talking to me? Then who were you talking to? As he spoke, his gaze unintentionally fell on Benny, who was standing awkwardly by the G-Wagon. Benny. Oh no, this is not good. Aren't you afraid your son will beat the crap out of me? Ethan rolled his eyes. Let's go. Hurry up and get inside. It's freezing. Inside the east wing of the main hall, Harrison Vance was holding a bowl of steaming, rich consommé, bowing respectfully before Theodore Vance. Grandfather, this consommé was prepared by a renowned chef I brought in specially from New Orleans. Please try some. Ethan's sharp-tongued aunt, Cassandra Vance, glanced up, her tone laced with sarcasm. Such thoughtfulness. Theodore Vance sat ramrod straight, a smile on his face. My eldest grandson is always so considerate. You got into a lot of trouble. He put away for now. It's too rich for so early in the morning. Yes, grandfather. Harrison took a step back, only then straightening up. He handed the bowl to a nearby maid, cautioning, be careful, it's hot. A blush crept up the maid's cheeks. This eldest grandson was always so refined and approachable. Not like the second branch's pampered, shrewish young miss, who had inherited her mother's domineering personality and never gave the staff a kind word. Scolding and yelling were commonplace. And then there was the third branch's playboy young master. Though rarely seen, his scandalous exploits were all over the internet when he wasn't around, a perfect example of a chip off the old block. The maid was sighing internally when, turning to leave, she saw the very playboy she'd just been mentally deriding walk into the courtyard with his father. Beside him was the stunning beauty who could make even other women gasp in admiration. People were indeed different. Wealth and poverty were different. Beauty and plainness were different. But a woman's natural beauty was as much a form of wealth as a man's money and power. Thinking this, the maid passed them by, sighing inwardly, a good match. Upon entering, Victor Vance lowered his head. Dad, Walter, Cassandra, you're here too. His brother and sister put on faces of amiable closeness, smiling and nodding. Harrison Vance, however, smiled quite naturally and nodded. Uncle Victor, Theodore, his smile from praising his eldest grandson still lingering, said slowly, "You're here." Victor acknowledged him, then glanced back at Ethan, his tone stern. "Aren't you going to apologize to your grandfather?" A grown man, and still no semblance of decency. The main culprit, who had personally provoked Theodore Vance's fury 3 days prior, reluctantly took a few steps forward and dropped to his knees with a thud. Twisting his neck, he said, "Grandfather, I'm here to take my punishment." Isabelle's palms were slick with sweat. She timidly glanced at Theodore, then stole a look at Ethan's uncle and aunt, wanting to greet them but not daring to speak. She remained rooted to the spot. Theodore's eyes narrowed, his face unconsciously flushing with anger. "You little bastard, you really pulled a fast one on me, didn't you?" "Huh, wouldn't dream of it. Just a blind squirrel finding a nut," Ethan said flippantly. "Oh, such well-chosen words." Cassandra sneered. "Victor, this son of yours is a lost cause, I tell you." "Aunt Cassandra, don't smile so much," Ethan said softly. "Those wrinkles are really starting to show. You ill-bred little whelp." Cassandra slammed her hand on the table, about to erupt, but Theodore cut her off. "Enough. You've been chirping all morning. You think you're the only one with a mouth." He then glared at Ethan. "How much face does the Vance family have left for you to tarnish, huh?" Theodore's gaze was fierce. He grabbed his cane and, with a full swing of his arm, brought it down on Ethan. Isabelle watched, her heart pounding in her chest. Victor stood by, head bowed, not daring to intervene. After a dozen or so strikes, Theodore finally stopped. He angrily threw the cane at Ethan, his voice icy. "This is your last warning. Curb that temper of yours, or I'll break your legs." Ethan knelt perfectly straight, lips pressed tightly together. His expression could be summed up in 3 phrases. "I know I'm wrong. I won't change, and I'd do it again." Seeing him not talk back this time, Theodore snorted, sat back down in his chair, and turned to the trembling Isabelle. "The Thorns are a respectable family, even if minor league," he said brusquely. "How did they raise such an ill-mannered girl?" Isabelle flinched, quickly taking a step forward. "Grandfather." "So, you didn't know to call me grandfather? Huh. Kneel with your husband." Isabelle bit her lip, about to comply, when Ethan spoke up. "That's enough. Why should she kneel? This isn't the Dark Ages. You didn't even come to my wedding. Who the hell is she supposed to know you as?" "Insolent brat." Theodore raised his hand and slapped Ethan across the face, drawing blood from the corner of his mouth. "Ethan, that's enough." Victor interjected, frowning. "Dad, don't be angry." Isabelle quickly knelt, her hands trembling as she gripped Ethan's arm. "Don't talk back." Theodore's breathing was heavy. "Feeling sorry for your wife now? Huh? You didn't feel sorry for her when you were fooling around outside. You bastard, just like your father. And you." Theodore pointed at Isabelle, his voice full of anger. "Can't you control him, or are you too scared too? I heard you two have a sham marriage. Is that true?" The unexpected accusation of a sham marriage made Isabelle shiver. Victor had repeatedly warned her that Theodore must not find out. The old patriarch despised deceit from his family above all else. Besides, most marriages among the elite had little to do with damned love. They operated solely on the principle of mutual benefit. Even if not a match of equals, the disparity couldn't be too great. Moreover, Theodore loathed the idea of using a beautiful face as a mere ornament for the Vance family. Femme fatale was, in his eyes, an eternal truth, with figures from history serving as stark warnings. Isabelle's beauty was certainly enough to qualify as a femme fatale, and while the Thorne family was wealthy, they were nothing compared to the Vances. Why would Theodore agree to this marriage? Even if he disliked Ethan, marriage was ultimately a matter of the Vance family's face and interests. Therefore, Victor, knowing he couldn't hide it from Theodore indefinitely, had been forced to try. He had only informed Theodore the day before the wedding that his son was returning to the Vance fold and, moreover, getting married. Theodore had nearly died of anger that day, but the invitations had already been sent out, and the guests were all prominent figures in Port Sterling. There was no room for maneuver. Theodore had reluctantly acquiesced, but remained deeply displeased, not attending the wedding and even sending Mr. Watkins to warn his illegitimate son. Now, Theodore was furious, and it seemed he was about to rake over these old coals. Walter and Cassandra, the siblings from the first and second branches, exchanged a look, smiling silently. They knew of Victor's deep ties with the Thorne family, and that Isabelle had married Ethan when the Thornes were in trouble. Although Victor claimed the families had a long-standing marriage agreement, they could fool outsiders, but could they fool the Vances? Theodore frowned. It was about that starlet, wasn't it? Humph. You think I don't know anything? Victor quickly agreed. Yes. You know, Dad, I've always wanted Ethan to return to the Vance family. But the boy blamed me before and stubbornly refused to accept any compensation from me. Actually, Mr. Thorne and I arranged this marriage over 10 years ago, when Ethan was still in high school. Later, Ethan had that incident, and then, as soon as he returned to the country, he secretly married that starlet. Before New Year's, I heard he was going through a divorce, so I went to him again. After much persuasion, he finally agreed to return to the Vance family and also to marry Isabelle. It was just a coincidence that Mr. Thorne ran into trouble right before New Year's, which led people to mistakenly believe Isabelle married into the Vance family to seek refuge. Dad, I'm telling the truth. Ethan and Isabelle have a marriage license. How could it be fake? Theodore remained silent, pursing his lips. After some deliberation, he snorted coldly. Marriage is such a serious matter. Treated like child's play? A 10-year-old engagement, just an arranged marriage between parents, and it happened just like that? Too hasty. Victor gave a wry smile. Dad, both of my marriages, weren't they arranged by you? And weren't they both hasty? Theodore frowned. After all these years, you still blame me? He pointed at Ethan. Is it because I wouldn't let his mother into the family? A flicker of imperceptible coldness flashed in Victor's eyes. After a long silence, his lips moved. No. Theodore, too, seemed to harbor some guilt about certain past events and was unwilling to dwell on the topic. He sighed, looked at Isabelle, and said, Enough. The marriage is done. I shouldn't meddle. Regardless, now that you're married in, you need to manage him. Letting him run wild like this, what does it look like? Isabelle lowered her head and quickly replied, I understand, grandfather. Theodore then turned to Ethan. You little bastard, I know you resent me too. It's just that I'm old and soft-hearted now. In the past, someone like you wouldn't have even dreamed of stepping half a foot into the Vance family. Ethan pursed his lips, but didn't respond. Theodore continued, I don't like you, but in the end, you're my grandson, a Vance heir. From now on, do fewer things that would shame our ancestors. Otherwise, I'll have no face to meet them when I die. 28, and still no sense of responsibility, you. Sigh. The old man was clearly disappointed. After another sigh, he said abruptly, It's about time you had a child. A man only matures when he has children. Isabelle blinked. You can scold him all you want, but why bring up having children? Your youngest son has 4, and it hasn't stopped his philandering ways. Ethan, who had been slumping with a sour face ever since he entered, suddenly perked up. When he looked at his grandfather, his eyes seemed to sparkle. He looked as if he'd never realized his grandfather could be so amiable, so respectable, so understanding. As you wish, grandfather, Ethan said with uncharacteristic earnestness. Theodore shot him a glare. If you actually listened, pigs would fly. With that, he pushed himself up from the table and extended a hand towards his eldest grandson. Harrison, come play a game of chess with me. As the eldest grandson, you should also consider marriage. I don't know how many years I have left. At least let me enjoy the happiness of 4 generations under one roof. Harrison quickly stepped forward to support him. I understand, grandfather. The punishment for Ethan was thus concluded. In truth, the old patriarch hadn't intended to punish him severely. After all, he had already stripped Victor of his authority over the overseas projects. If he punished his son too harshly on top of that, it would be unreasonable. Only after Theodore left did Ethan and Isabelle dare to stand up. Victor looked at his son and daughter-in-law, pursed his lips, and was about to speak when his sharp-tongued sister, Cassandra, cut in. Well, Port Sterling's #1 beauty. Such airs, doesn't even know to greet her elders. Isabelle took 2 steps forward, her attitude deferential. First, she faced Ethan's uncle, Walter. "Uncle Walter," she said timidly, then greeted Cassandra. "Aunt Cassandra." Walter gave a non-committal grunt. Cassandra, however, merely smirked derisively and ignored her. Victor's eyes narrowed, his voice exceptionally cold. "Cassandra, my daughter-in-law, is greeting you." The woman's face was fierce, but seeing Victor's anger, her bluster deflated. Only then did she reluctantly utter an. Ethan couldn't help but grin. He pulled out his phone, fiddled with it for a moment, then stepped forward, holding the screen with a QR code toward his aunt. "Aunt Cassandra," he said brazenly, "here, shoot me over 10, 20 grand. Just a little something. Can't expect you to acknowledge her for free, right?" On the way back, Ethan still looked unwell, listless. Isabelle, her mind in turmoil, hesitated for a long time before asking, "Are you okay?" Ethan shook his head gently. "Grandfather doesn't hit hard." Isabelle said abruptly, "Thank you." Ethan looked at her, a smile in his eyes. "How will you thank me? Have a baby?" Isabelle couldn't help but roll her eyes. "Have one yourself. Takes two to tango, sweetheart." Isabelle, after a moment of silence, the beauty looked at Ethan, her expression serious. "Ethan Vance, I know you often provoke me to try and lessen my psychological burden. So, no matter what, I should thank you. But we're not right for each other. That time I hit Chloe Miller, it was really just an act. Don't be too good to me. If a situation like today happens again, don't talk back to your grandfather for my sake. You need to think more about your father." Ethan grinned roguishly. "Doesn't matter who it is or what the consequences are. No one messes with my wife. Period." Isabelle patiently continued. "Everything between us is fake, Ethan. I'm serious. Don't be too good to me. I'm not worth your effort." She paused. "You have plenty of beautiful women around you. Pick one or take them all. Believe in yourself. You can do it. Anyway, I won't interfere. If grandfather blames me, I'll take the punishment." Ethan's smile faded somewhat. He gently rubbed his temples, murmuring, "You know me pretty well." Benny, peeking in the rearview mirror, couldn't help but chuckle twice. Then, he felt the death glares from the two in the back. "Benny, I just got a text. My childhood friend's grandma just had a baby." Half an hour later, the G-Wagon pulled into the underground garage of Isabelle's building. Ethan opened the car door and had just swung one leg out when his phone suddenly rang. He glanced at it, Chun. The Playboy's expression suddenly turned serious. He quickly answered the call. Tina, on the other end, was ecstatic. "Ethan, my sister-in-law just called. She said my brother's awake." Ethan drew a sharp breath. "Really? That's great. I'll head over right now." "Okay, I'll see you at the hospital then. I'm getting ready to leave now, too." Hanging up, Ethan pulled his leg back into the car. He said to Isabelle, something came up, then urged Benny to race to the hospital. In the hospital room, Ethan looked at Chun, who was extremely weak, his eyes barely open a slit, and then questioned the doctor. The attending physician wore a mask, his expression unreadable, but his eyes held a hint of pleasant surprise. "His condition is something of a miracle. Honestly, none of us really expected him to wake up. As it stands, his consciousness is still fuzzy. He can't speak or move, and his brain only has some simple cognitive abilities. Let him rest well for the next 2 days, without too much disturbance. We'll need further observation to determine his exact condition." "Thank you," Ethan said. After the doctor left, he exchanged a brief greeting with Sarah Chun, Kevin's wife, then sat down on the sofa, lost in thought. Before long, Tina Chun arrived at the hospital, accompanied by a frail, elderly man who walked with faltering steps. Sarah had initially greeted Tina with a smile, but upon seeing the old man, her face immediately hardened. "Tina, why did you bring Grandpa? This is no time for that." Tina pouted. "When you called me, I was so excited, I just blurted it out. When Grandpa found out, he insisted on coming, so." This girl was simple-minded, couldn't keep her mouth shut, and certainly couldn't keep a secret. Ethan had previously, subtly, tried to find out if she knew anything about Marcus Chun. The girl had told him practically everything she knew about Marcus's childhood, but as for why he disappeared 10 years ago, or where he was now, she genuinely had no idea. She was convinced her cousin had met with some accident and was long dead. Otherwise, why wouldn't he contact her and Kevin? Ethan, seeing her genuine demeanor, also felt that Marcus wouldn't have told this blabbermouth his whereabouts, which was why he had focused all his attention on Kevin. The old man with Tina, Mr. Peterson, was 80 years old. Ethan had already thoroughly investigated him. Mr. Peterson was not related by blood to the 3 Chun siblings, but was a former neighbor. In his younger years, this solitary old man had made a living by collecting scraps. Seeing the three children without support, he often helped them with food and clothing. Over time, an affection grew, and he ended up sponsoring their education, treating them as his own children until they were grown. Such kindness was like a second chance at life. The Chun siblings were also grateful and had taken on the responsibility of caring for the old man. "Sarah, Mr. Peterson said, tears streaming down his face, his calloused, dark hands trembling violently. "Something this serious. Cough, cough. Why didn't you tell me?" Years of hardship, coupled with his advanced age, had left him hunched, thin, and small, a heartbreaking sight. Sarah also began to cry. "Grandpa, I just didn't want you to worry. Your health isn't good." To be fair, though Chun was a man dealt a hard hand in life, his wife was truly remarkable, pretty, resilient, and deeply caring towards both Tina and Mr. Peterson. Ethan remembered Kevin's wedding, just over a year ago. He had joked at the time that Kevin must have accumulated great karma in a past life to marry such a wonderful woman. Kevin had just laughed heartily then. Later, after a few too many drinks, he confided the truth to Ethan. Actually, her family is very poor. She entered the workforce early and was exploited in some shady dealings for a few years. Later, she came to Port Sterling alone, hoping for a fresh start. We met by chance, gradually developed feelings for each other, and just got married. People's joys and sorrows are not the same. It was already noon when Ethan left the hospital. Benny held a hefty steak and cheese sub in one hand and the steering wheel in the other, eating as he drove. "Boss, Kevin's one tough son of a gun. But you think he's going to tell you where Marcus is? I say we try carrot and stick. If he still won't talk, we use his sister as leverage." Ethan's expression was grave. He's the type who responds to kindness, not force. Stubborn as a mule. Can't mess around. Sigh. Benny sighed. "Guess we just keep waiting then. Boss, back to your new place or Emerald Lake Estates?" Ethan was silent for a moment, then asked abruptly, "What's Lily been up to lately?" "Cleaning, scrubbing, tidying up, cooking, watering plants." "The usual," Benny said. "Why? You want her at your new place too? You be okay with that?" Ethan teased. Benny flushed. What's there for me to miss?" "Boss, don't get the wrong idea." Ethan smiled faintly, his tone somewhat meaningful. "One more reminder. None of our business gets discussed at home." "Oh." Just as he spoke, Isabelle called. A smile unconsciously spread across Ethan's lips. He answered the phone, his voice gentle. "Miss me?" Isabelle, on the other end, took a breath, her tone lukewarm. "Ryan Asher invited me to dinner. He said he wants to talk about Chloe Miller. I just arrived. Mr. King is here too." "Ryan Asher invited you to dinner?" Ethan frowned. "Which Mr. King?" He paused, then seemed to remember. "That Mr. King from the ad agency." "Isabelle, yes. He was here when I arrived. He seems quite friendly with Ryan. Says he's here to mediate." "Interesting." Ethan stroked his chin. "What's Mr. King sticking his nose into this for?" Isabelle, not sure. Ethan pondered for a moment. "You mean, you want me to come over?" Isabelle was silent. "Isn't it obvious? Do you even need to ask?" "Izzy, you're getting smarter," Ethan teased. "Did you figure I'd make you beg, so you're not answering?" Isabelle said coolly, "Don't want to come? Chloe's here too." Ethan, jealous? "In your next life?" The call ended abruptly. A moment later, Isabelle texted the location to Ethan's WhatsApp. She seemed completely numb to the word jealous and had figured out Ethan's pattern. As long as the playboy didn't explicitly say no, he would definitely show up. Mr. King glanced at his watch. Though the food had been on the table for over 40 minutes, he didn't dare rush things. After some consideration, he filled 2 glasses with high-end vodka, passed one to Isabelle, and smiled. "Ms. Thorne, Mr. Vance isn't here yet, but we can't let the atmosphere get cold, can we? Come, let me toast you first. Here's to the increasingly smooth cooperation between our 2 companies." Isabelle accepted the shot glass with both hands, forcing a smile for this major client. Even though she found vodka, no matter how high-class or expensive, extremely difficult to swallow, she tilted her head back and downed it in one go. Compared to her, Mr. King seemed to be thoroughly enjoying himself. He eagerly refilled his glass, exclaiming, "As the saying goes, good things come in pairs. Ms. Thorne, another one." Alcohol and culture are inextricably linked. Even uneducated louts, if asked to engage in serious discourse, wouldn't be able to string 2 words together even with a knife at their throat. But at the drinking table, they suddenly become eloquent, spouting phrases like "may good fortune triple," "prosperity through all seasons," "smooth sailing in all endeavors," "perfection in everything." As long as it could get you to drink one more glass, they could seemingly invent a new idiom on the spot. Isabelle knew this could go on endlessly, but she couldn't afford to offend Mr. King. After all, he was humbling himself to offer her a drink. If she made excuses, wouldn't that seem overly pretentious and ungracious? After 3 consecutive shots, the Ice Queen's stomach felt like it was on fire. Her cheeks flushed crimson. Mr. King knew when to stop. After a few light-hearted jokes, he turned to Ryan Asher. Ryan, you should also toast Ms. Thorne. Business is business, friends are friends. There's nothing that can't be talked out. Ryan stood up, a faint smile on his face as he extended his hand. Ms. Thorne, I was too reckless in the past, and I offended you. Borrowing Mr. King's words, business is business. I hope we can both keep personal feelings out of it and resolve Chloe's situation peacefully, okay? Isabelle hesitated for a moment, then lightly touched Ryan's fingertips. Physical contact with others seemed to be an extremely uncomfortable thing for her. She withdrew her hand after only a brief moment and picked up her shot glass. Mr. Asher, you worry too much. Isabelle Thorne, never mix business with personal matters. Ryan put on a humble expression, holding his shot glass very low. It's my honor to toast you, and to toast Elysian Media. Just as he was speaking, there was a knock on the private room door. Then, a server pushed it open, and Ethan Vance strode in. Chloe Miller, who had worn an expression like the world owed her $1 million from the start, looked even more displeased upon seeing her ex-husband. She lowered her head, turning away, clearly not wanting to look at him. Ryan's hand, holding the shot glass, froze in midair. His smile also stiffened slightly. Mr. Vance, you're here, he said lukewarmly. Ethan, my friend, you finally made it. Mr. King stood up, raised a hand in greeting, and then called out to the server. Quick, bring the hot dishes. I want to give my good brother a proper welcome. From the moment he entered, Ethan had completely ignored the other 3, his gaze falling limpid on Isabelle's flushed face. Without saying a word, he personally poured her a glass of water and handed it to her. Isabelle, at this moment, could be described as enchantingly beautiful, her heart already starting to relax. This damn man, though he often infuriated her, had also given her a considerable sense of security. You're here, she said. Ethan didn't answer directly. Your face is so red. How many did you have? Isabelle suddenly had a bad feeling and didn't dare to respond. Ethan, my friend. Mr. King chuckled. Don't mind me. You know I love a good drink. You weren't here earlier, and the atmosphere in this room was terribly down. So, I just had a small drink with Ms. Thorne. 3 glasses, Come. You did Port Sterling a big favor a few days ago. I heard you just got out of holding today. Tisk, you suffered. I need to toast you properly. A few glasses. Yes, Mr. Vance is truly righteous. Ryan flattered, though it sounded somewhat sarcastic. Ethan ignored him, smiled at Mr. King, and said, You flatter me. He then looked at the dining table, picked up a wine glass, and filled it to the brim with vodka. Mr. King, last time you visited Elysian, please forgive my poor hospitality. Today, I'll make it up to you. Since you enjoy drinking, let's go all out. Big glasses, shall we? Mr. King's smile twitched. He forced a laugh. Ethan, my boy, I'm almost 50. I can't handle drinking like this. Not giving me face. Ethan grinned roguishly. Or do you want me to drink 3 penalty shots first? What penalty shots? Those are just old, outdated drinking customs. We're gentlemen. No need for that. Really no need. Mr. King, ever the smooth talker, defused the awkwardness with a laugh, then casually switched to a wine glass and filled it. Ryan followed suit, also filling a large glass for himself, and smiled. Mr. Vance, come, let me welcome you too. However, the playboy still ignored him, clinking glasses with Mr. King and downing the contents of his glass. Mr. King finished his in 2 gulps, quickly chasing it with tea. Ryan was left feeling somewhat awkward, placing his glass on the table, but not sitting down. Chloe, feeling sorry for her, Ryan dear, tugged at his sleeve and shook her head at him. Ryan smiled back at her, but said nothing. Mr. King, another one. Ethan, his face showing no sign of intoxication, refilled his glass. You toasted my wife 3 times. I have to return the favor with 3, right? Otherwise, it'd be rude of me. Mr. Benny clammed up, pretending not to hear, his eyes fixed straight ahead, his driving suddenly very focused. Thorne, look, my young friend Ethan is blaming me. Won't you put in a good word for me? Isabelle passed Ethan a glass of tea. Drink less. Ethan nodded, then immediately clinked glasses with Mr. King. Cheers. Mr. King, resigned, had to drink another. Ryan, Mr. Vance, this seems a bit inappropriate. Ethan opened a new bottle of vodka, slowly pouring it into his glass, continuing to ignore him. Isabelle noticed Ryan clenching his fists and couldn't help but feel a strange sense of foreboding. What trick is this clueless idiot trying to pull now? She thought. Does he really think bringing in Mr. King can control Ethan Vance? Although Mr. King is a figure of some note, in terms of power, background, and status, he's still a notch below Preston Asher. He just has a wider network and knows more miscellaneous people. Is he really sure Mr. King would dare to go against Ethan Vance? After the two brothers finished their third glass, Ethan finally showed some effects of the alcohol, his cheeks slightly flushed. Mr. King, on the other hand, having drunk too quickly and too much, was now gasping for breath, looking like he was on death's door. Isabelle gently poked Ethan. That's enough, she whispered. Ethan, all right, whatever you say. Just as he was about to sit down, Ryan, ever clueless, started again. Mr. Vance, you can really hold your liquor. Come, I also. Was I talking to you? Ethan suddenly roared. Isabelle, caught off guard, flinched violently. She remembered the last time Ethan had said those words to Ryan, in the underground garage of Chloe's apartment building. Back then, Ethan had been dressed plainly, almost invisible, while Ryan had been arrogant, even audaciously telling Ethan to fill in any number on a blank check. Now, Ryan felt ridiculous just thinking about it. After being yelled at, Ryan's mind seemed to go blank for a moment. He stood there, unresponsive. Ethan picked up the teacup in front of him and threw it. Staring hard at Ryan, he said coldly, You have 2 days. 30 million. Not a penny less. Bring it to me. Otherwise, Chloe Miller can forget about terminating her contract for the rest of her life. I mean it. Ethan sneered at Chloe. Chloe, let's be blunt. You're a commodity. I'm trying to raise your value, sell you at a good price. Why are you so ungrateful? You're a despicable scoundrel. Chloe trembled with anger. Ethan looked somewhat helpless and said something that Chloe found rather incomprehensible. You're so astonishingly naive, it scares me. You have to stick your nose into everything. Sigh, why do you always choose the pretty box and throw away the pearl? Mr. King quickly tried to smooth things over. Ethan, my friend, calm down. Everything was fine just a moment ago. Ryan didn't say much. Ethan shot him a look. Still haven't had enough? Mr. King pursed his lips. Ethan, my friend, we're all friends here, you. Drinking with you. That's me giving you face, Ethan said with a slight smile. Letting you call me brother. That's me giving you a lot of face. Mr. King, take good advice when you hear it. Don't stick your nose into everything. Elysian might be a small company, but we're not desperate enough to kiss your ass. If you genuinely want to do business and be friends, I'll buy you a drink another time. But if you insist on meddling, I'll deal with you too. Mr. King was inevitably embarrassed. He waved his hand. All right, you guys talk first. I'll give you a proper welcome toast after you're done. Isabelle, considering the situation, gave Mr. King an apologetic look and said, Mr. King, I'm terribly sorry. The latter pursed his lips and smiled faintly, not daring to say more. Ryan struggled to contain his anger. Mr. Vance, I know your father is a big shot. The Ashers can't afford to offend him. But there's no need for you to throw your weight around like this, is there? The implication was clear. You're only acting tough because of your father. What's so great about that? Ethan found it both infuriating and amusing. Hey, don't get it twisted. Who's the one always bringing up their old man? Asher, I don't know what your game is, but I'm warning you, you're out of your league. Tell your dad to come play if he wants. Got it. Mr. Vance, I just want to get Chloe out of her contract. You're overthinking it. Buying her freedom, I get it. Just pay up. It's not like I'm desperate to keep her. Isabelle intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Ethan as he said this, her thoughts unreadable. Ryan bit his lip, glaring. You don't get to decide the buyout amount. If we can't agree, we'll see you in court. Ethan nodded dismissively. Fine by me. I know the Ashers might look down on Elysian's legal department, but I wonder, would the Vance Holdings legal team meet your standards? Bullying with power? Who couldn't do that? Everyone in Port Sterling's business world knew about the Vance Holdings legal team. They were all top figures in the industry, the elite of the elite. Over decades, they had fought countless lawsuits, large and small, with only a handful of defeats. Ryan instantly deflated, momentarily at a loss for words. Just then, Preston Asher unexpectedly walked into the private room. Out of politeness, Isabelle stood up to greet him. Mr. King also greeted him with a cheerful smile. Ryan looked particularly surprised, as if he hadn't expected his father to find him here. King, playing the friendly old guy, said with a wry smile, Ma'am. Mr. Vance, Preston Asher said, forcing a smile and proactively extending his hand to Ethan. I just got back in town half an hour ago. Heard my good-for-nothing son was up to his stupid tricks again. Didn't even go home, came straight here. Ethan didn't shake his hand, a mocking smile on his face. Oh, what stupid tricks? Do tell. Preston Asher was a shrewd man. He knew Ethan wasn't looking for an explanation, so he turned directly to his son and scolded, "You damn fool. Mister, Vance showed our Asher family mercy last time. That was more than generous. How can you be so ungrateful? Huh? For a woman, you're going to drag the entire Asher family down with you." Dad, Preston didn't give his son a chance to finish, glaring at Chloe. "Ms. Miller, I think I was too subtle with you before, and you didn't quite understand. So, listen carefully now. As long as I, Preston Asher, am alive, you can forget about marrying into my family. Get that idea out of your head right now. Whether you terminate your contract or not has nothing to do with Ryan. I won't give him a dime for it. You'd best watch yourself. Otherwise, don't blame me for being unpleasant." Chloe was meek, not daring to look up, let alone speak. In fact, when she was with Ryan before, she had frequently faced opposition from his parents. But their love had been deep, and she had thought that if she persevered, she would one day gain their approval. "Dad, you." Ryan seemed to want to speak up for Chloe, but Preston cut him off. "Shut up. You bastard. Can't you live without a woman? 3 years ago, for a woman, you defied your mother and me to go to America to find her. Now, she's married, and you're still acting like you'll die for this woman. When will you ever grow up?" Ethan O. Isabelle. The couple wore identical expressions of people enjoying a dramatic spectacle. Chloe was instantly thunderstruck. Wasn't it said he had a strange illness that couldn't be treated domestically, so he went to America? Thinking back to the underground parking lot, when Ethan pushed Ryan, the pained expression on Ryan's face. Was it faked? She had even cursed Ethan for it. And recently, Ryan had often complained of discomfort, some post-surgery complication. Lies. It was all lies. The true love she had always believed in the end. She was just a backup? Ryan panicked. "Chloe, listen to me. It's not true. It's not true." Chloe's world instantly collapsed. Dazed, she stumbled back a few steps, turned, and ran out of the room. "Chloe." Ryan started to chase her, but was pushed back by Preston. "Don't go. I have other plans for your marriage. Don't contact her anymore." With that, Preston Asher walked over to Ethan, his expression immediately softening, a smile on his face. "Mr. Vance, I made a fool of myself in front of you." Ethan clapped his hands. "Interesting, very interesting. Preston, your son's been pretty disrespectful to me lately. I thought you gave him the guts. Looks like I was wrong about you. My apologies. I, Preston Asher, am not a fickle man. Mr. Vance, you showed mercy last time. How could I not appreciate it? For this matter, I apologize first. I will definitely discipline Ryan properly and ensure he doesn't bother you again." Ethan smiled. "No problem. Let him come. I'm bored all day anyway. Might as well have some fun. If you're free, why don't you join in?" Ethan said flippantly. "So, by your account, this whole thing is just a lot of hot air, like two bald men fighting over a comb." "Mr. Vance, you're joking." Preston replied. "Yeah, how did it suddenly get boring again?" Ethan felt a wave of disinterest wash over him. He looked contemptuously at Ryan. "Hey, puppy, what the hell are you trying to do? Your moves are confusing the hell out of me." As he spoke, he intentionally or unintentionally glanced at Mr. King. Ryan gritted his teeth, his eyes welling up. It was likely that, at this moment, his resentment towards his own father outweighed his resentment towards Ethan. When no response came, Ethan pursed his lips and strolled towards Ryan. On the way, he picked up the vodka bottle from Mr. King's table, holding it by the neck. He looked at Preston Asher with amusement. "Preston, it's not like I haven't given the Ashers chances. But this son of yours keeps pissing me off again and again. Tell me, what should I do?" As the words fell, the bottle smashed against Ryan's head. With a sickening thud, the bottle shattered and Ryan crumpled to the ground, blood instantly gushing from the wound. Preston Asher instinctively clenched his fists, a flash of anger crossing his face before being quickly suppressed. He forced a smile. "Mr. Vance teaches him well. My son really deserved that. A man of great principle. I like it." Ethan chuckled, then picked up another empty bottle. Isabelle's heart leaped in her throat. She quickly intervened. "Mr. Vance, stop fooling around. You've had too much to drink." After a moment of blank confusion, he called out, "Dad. Yeah, I'm drunk. Wifey, let's go home and rest." Passing by Mr. King, Ethan clapped him heavily on the shoulder. "Mr. King, I'll treat you to a proper drinking session another time. I'll make sure you drink your fill." Sure thing, Mr. King said with a cheerful laugh, completely ignoring Ryan, who was lying on the ground moaning, his head covered in blood. After the couple left, the Asher family's driver, who had been waiting outside the door, rushed in, helped Ryan up, and pressed a towel to his head. Sir, this Vance guy is too much. Should I? The driver said indignantly, but Preston cut him off with a glare. Shut up. Who do you think you are, spouting nonsense here? After silencing the driver, Preston turned to Mr. King, his eyes cold. Mr. King, I'm very curious. My Ryan hasn't been back in the country long. How did you come to know him? Mr. King, about 7/10 drunk, smiled. Not long at all. Your son is well-educated, charming. We hit it off right away. Preston Asher snorted coldly, said nothing more, and walked out of the private room with his driver and Ryan. Once in the car, he said angrily to Ryan, Stay away from that King fellow from now on. I don't care what he plans to do to Vance. Don't you get mixed up in it. Ryan, neck stiff, gritted his teeth. He was trying to mediate for me. Don't slander him. You, Preston scoffed. Don't you ever think? How'd I know you were here? I'll tell you, the tip I got came from this King. Why did he deliberately let me know you were here? He wanted me to see Ethan Vance deal with you with my own eyes. You still don't understand his motive. Ryan looked utterly incredulous. After a long moment of thought, he seemed to vaguely realize that he had, somehow, unwittingly become someone else's pawn. But regardless, was this beating just going to be forgotten? Dad, you're just going to let him humiliate me like this? He didn't just hit my head. He hit the Asher family's face. Last time he disgraced us, and this time, you're still going to tolerate it? Dad, it hurts so much. Preston's expression seemed to gradually ice over. After a long silence, he said, Stay away from that Chloe Miller. Meanwhile, in the back of the G-Wagon, Ethan, having downed nearly a pint of vodka, was feeling the alcohol go to his head. He leaned his head against the window, one hand gently rubbing his temples. Isabelle hesitated for a moment, then finally couldn't resist saying, Can you stop physically attacking people? If word gets out, it won't be good for you. Ethan said, Quite the strict upbringing, huh? Isabelle scoffed, a hint of mockery in her smile. Hitting him, was that to avenge Chloe Miller? Rich imagination. I don't have the time for that. Isabelle clearly didn't believe him. Staring at Ethan for a while, she inexplicably recalled his casual remark at the dinner. It's not like I'm desperate to keep her. She thought that although this playboy was currently a philanderer, he had once been devoted to Chloe. This outcome probably left him somewhat disheartened. So, her tone slightly more serious, she asked, You loved her for 2 years. Do you regret it? Ethan said languidly, What do I have to regret? No matter how you look at it, she lost out more. Isabelle understood his meaning. His loss wasn't referring to his family background, but to the genuine feelings he had invested. That kind of thing couldn't be bought with mountains of gold. But ultimately, it was misplaced. Ethan, now completely uninterested in Chloe's emotional state, pondered for a moment, then said to Isabelle, Be careful lately. I misjudged earlier. It's not the Ashers who are the problem. It's that Mr. King. Seeing the playboy uncharacteristically serious, Isabelle frowned. What problem? Ethan shook his head. If Preston Asher hadn't shown up today, I wouldn't have been sure. But Preston rushing over, looking like he'd just traveled, proves he didn't know about Ryan's recent actions. So, I feel like this King fellow has ulterior motives, instigating Ryan from behind. But as for why, I don't know yet. Aren't you overthinking it? Isabelle said thoughtfully. Mr. King has several contracts with our company. It should be mutually beneficial. I think it's just Ryan Asher being too desperate to get Chloe out of her contract. That's why he kept pestering you. A daddy's boy who bullies the weak and fears the strong, knows he can't beat me, yet suddenly grows a pair? Is that normal? Ethan said, I checked on the way here. King has no significant ties to the Ashers. Ryan just returned from abroad. How could they be so close? Besides, think about it. When did Mr. King first meet Ryan Asher? Isabelle remembered vividly. The day Chloe caused a scene at the company. Ryan even knelt to you. As she said this, Isabelle seemed to realize something. He saw Ryan humiliated by you. So he approached Ryan afterwards and incited him against you? That makes sense, but what's his motive? Ethan Vance. Have you been fooling around outside and messed with the wrong woman? Ethan. Isabelle said seriously. Give me a list. I'll check it for you. Ethan. Isabelle, what? Too many to remember. Ethan pursed his lips. If you have this much free time, why don't you go review the contracts with Mr. King again? See if there are any traps. Good point. Isabelle said, her expression turning worried again. Since the Ashers weren't the problem, you shouldn't have hit Ryan. Now, you've probably forced the Ashers into becoming a problem. I hit him to see his father's reaction. Ethan sighed. Besides, Ryan's already involved. A fight between me and the Ashers is inevitable now. Bring it on, all of you. I want to see what kind of game this Mr. King is playing. Isabelle's mind was a mess. Mr. King had been so attentive to Ethan before. How had things suddenly turned out like this? Could it be that, from the very beginning, when he came to discuss cooperation, he had come with a conspiracy and a hidden agenda? Maybe you should give Uncle Victor a heads up, so he can prepare. Ethan's eyes narrowed, a roguish glint in them. Worried about me? Isabelle. Izzy, I'm drunk. Can I lean on your shoulder for a bit? This window is freezing. Ethan Vance. When you're serious, you almost seem human. Benny. Boss, I turned the heat on. How is it still cold? En route, he called Mr. King. Mr. King, what the hell was that about? Why did you get my dad involved today? Mr. King chuckled. Looks like your dad is caught on. Oh, brother, I did it all for you. Think about it. Just the two of us. Could we really take on Ethan Vance? At the very least, we need your dad to help us out, right? Getting me to help Chloe terminate her contract. And today's dinner, this was all your plan? The purpose was to get my dad to make a move against Ethan Vance? That's not what you told me at the beginning. Didn't you say you had a way to deal with Ethan Vance? Why are you dragging my dad into this now? Mr. King said, bringing your dad into the fold gives us a better chance of winning. Brother, it's not me saying it, but your dad has really gotten old, lost his earlier drive and courage. The Vance family is rife with internal conflict these days. Why should we fear them? If we just put our heads together, we might even be able to use their infighting. Just you wait, don't rush. We have timing and an advantageous situation. Now we just need the people to align. How can I trust you anymore? You don't have to trust me. I can also call off the plan. But you need to understand one thing. That Vance fellow probably won't let your Asher family off easy. Ryan was instantly filled with regret, but things had come to this point. There was likely no turning back. After a long silence, the fool had no choice but to compromise. You have to guarantee you could take him down. Mr. King vowed, absolutely. Ethan Vance is a lecherous pretty boy. Dealing with him is easy. Ryan pondered. Mr. King, what's your beef with him anyway? Silence on the other end of the line, then Mr. King's sinister voice. Don't ask what doesn't concern you. About 20 minutes later, Ryan arrived at Chloe Miller's apartment. However, when he nervously entered the door code he had memorized, it showed incorrect password. Ryan instantly panicked, trying the code again several times in disbelief with the same result. Earlier that afternoon at home, he had wanted to explain things to Chloe, but his calls and messages were blocked, and even Chloe's mother's phone went unanswered. Now, even the door code had been changed. Bang, bang, bang. Ryan pounded on the door, shouting, Chloe, just give me a chance to explain, okay? 3 years ago, I was out of my mind, but I really love you now. Only you. Chloe, don't doubt my love for you. Please, I'm begging you. Let me explain to you face to face, okay? Just open the door. Inside the apartment, Chloe clutched a bottle of wine, slumped on the sofa, her eyes vacant, looking as if she had lost all will to live. Her mother kept vigil beside her, actually desperate to open the door. But remembering how Chloe had threatened suicide that afternoon, forbidding her to answer Ryan's calls, she still felt a knot of fear in her stomach and could only sit there, worrying helplessly. Outside, Ryan continued, Chloe, I know you're home. I'm begging you. Just let me see you for a moment. Ethan Vance hurt my head. I just woke up in the hospital, and the first thing I did was rush here to find you, Chloe. My head is spinning. Please open the door. Just let me see you, please. Chloe's mother gripped her daughter's hand, her voice anxious. Chloe, Ryan's hurt. Just let him in first. Whatever it is, let him explain it clearly. You've loved each other for so many years. There's no knot that can't be untied. Be good, okay? Chloe suddenly smiled, tears welling up uncontrollably. She said nothing. For some reason, at that moment, she inexplicably thought of Ethan Vance, thought of those 2 years. That quiet, awkward man. He never seemed to say sweet nothings, never offered explanations, just obeyed her every whim, always tolerant. Yet, it was this very person whom she had metaphorically killed with her own hands, burying him in the dissatisfaction of their marriage. If life were only like the first meeting, why would autumn winds sadden the painted fan? All stories begin with such tenderness, but how many endings can live up to their beginnings? Good intentions leading to bitter fruit, whose karma runs deeper in this life. All is fate, not for mortals to decide. To say Chloe chose the casket over the pearls was less accurate than to say she was a plaything of fate. In one hand, the taken-for-granted devotion. In the other, the unattainable moonlight. What she liked, she couldn't have. What she had, she didn't like. Now that moonlight had finally fallen upon her, and she had rushed towards it, abandoning everything, only to discover that the light was merely a reflection, something someone else had discarded. Pitiful? Tragic? Hateful? Huh. Some people's lives are destined to be filled with regret and remorse. A week passed in a flash. Chloe Miller's contract termination fee was not paid on time. Ethan Vance showed no mercy. He had the artist management department directly blacklist her and told Isabelle that if she came to terminate her contract again, they shouldn't even negotiate, just sue. Regardless of how much they could eventually claim in damages, a lawsuit of this nature could be dragged out for years with a little effort. Wrongdoing has its price. What puzzled Ethan, however, was that Ryan Asher and Mr. King had been very quiet lately, making no moves at all. He wondered what those two idiots were plotting. Or perhaps Preston Asher was keeping too tight a leash on Ryan, preventing him from causing more trouble. That old fox was far-sighted and very patient. He wouldn't easily make an enemy of the Vance family, so that wasn't impossible. Without these petty annoyances, Ethan had some leisure time. He would wander around the company for a bit each day, annoy Isabelle, and then go to the hospital to visit Chun with some gifts. Right now, this was his top priority. These past few days, the doctors had advised the family to talk to Kevin more, as it would greatly help his cognitive abilities. This task naturally fell to the talkative Tina Chun. From morning till night, she chattered away, recounting childhood stories, recent news, including the entire story of how Ethan had rescued her, how he had paid the medical bills, and so on, all heartfelt expressions of gratitude towards Ethan. This method had an effect. Kevin was recovering well. Although he still couldn't speak much, he could respond to others by moving his fingers or blinking his eyes. His thinking had basically returned to normal. Just yesterday, after much deliberation, Ethan felt there was no need to wait any longer. He got straight to the point with Kevin. I'm looking for Marcus Chun just to ask one thing, something directly related to my mother's death. Kevin, he was my mother's driver. He must have seen who kidnapped her. Don't worry, I won't blame him for abandoning my mother to escape. That's human instinct. Most people would do the same. I just want to find out who kidnapped my mother, what really happened that night, that's all. I swear to God, I won't hurt him. You have to believe me. However, despite Ethan's sincerity, Kevin still indicated he didn't know. Yet his eyes seemed to hold a hint of guilt, a flicker of internal struggle. At this moment, Ethan was in his office, frowning, a cigarette dangling from his lips, lost in thought. Benny was equally troubled, muttering, "Tonight, I'll snatch him from the hospital. Stick him a few times. No, stick him until he talks. Damn it, he's so ungrateful." Ethan flicked his cigarette ash, his expression grave. "Yeah, I'm really out of patience. Got to think of another way." Just as he was speaking, Tina Chun called. Ethan instantly tensed, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and anxiety. "Hello, Tina. Ethan, my brother says he wants to see you." He was gesturing for ages before I understood. It was hilarious. Ethan was overjoyed and rushed to the hospital with Benny. However, just as they reached the door of the hospital room, the scene before them hit him like a physical blow. The attending physician and several nurses were frantically entering the room. The monitor beside the bed was beeping incessantly. Sarah Chun stood at the doorway, her face devoid of color, tears streaming down her cheeks. Tina was already a sobbing wreck. Seeing Ethan arrive, she collapsed into his arms, crying, "Ethan, my brother. My brother. Sob. What happened?" Seeing Kevin Chun looking frail and fading in the hospital room, Ethan's heart leaped into his throat. Tina cried. He was fine just a moment ago, and then suddenly, Ethan gently patted Tina's back, comforting her as nurses wheeled Kevin out, clearly on his way to emergency treatment. In this situation, Ethan could do nothing, nor did he dare disturb the doctors. His mind went blank. They just made progress. How could it suddenly? As the nurses pushed Kevin past Ethan, Kevin suddenly grabbed his hand. Ethan froze for a second, then quickly leaned down. "Kevin, is there something you want to tell me?" Kevin couldn't speak. Seemingly summoning all his strength, he tremblingly raised his other hand, moving it slowly, finally pointing towards Sarah Chun. His eyes, half open due to extreme weakness, also slid to the corners, looking in Sarah's direction. Ethan's brow furrowed into a knot. He slowly turned his head, his gaze complicated as he looked at Sarah. "Quick, make way, don't delay," a nurse urged, forcibly pushing Kevin away and into the emergency room. Tina followed closely. Outside the hospital room door, only Ethan, Benny, and Sarah remained. Benny scratched his head, utterly confused. "What's that mean?" "Wants our boss to take care of his wife." Sarah's body trembled slightly. Her eyes darted around, unwilling to meet Ethan's gaze. Images of Sarah from their encounters at the roadside grill flashed through Ethan's mind. The woman was quiet, shy, never daring to look at him when she served food, her eyes always unconsciously avoiding his. At the time, he had found it odd, but had assumed it was just her personality and hadn't thought much of it. Now, it seemed it was because she knew Marcus Chin's whereabouts, which was why she always appeared somewhat uneasy around him. Realizing this, Ethan steadied himself, took 2 steps towards Sarah, and said in a low voice, "Sarah, did Kevin want you to tell me something?" Sarah wiped the tears from her face and, trembling, shook her head. Ethan's expression turned cold. "Then why did he point at you just now?" Sarah pressed her lips tightly together, her head bowed, saying nothing. "Sarah, I don't like beating around the bush. Tell me, where is Marcus Chun? I promised Kevin I wouldn't hurt him. You saw just now? Kevin really wanted to tell me where Marcus is. I'm begging you, please." Sarah nervously picked at her fingers, her mind clearly in a fierce struggle. After a long moment, she swallowed hard and finally nodded. "Actually, I've only met him once. Last October, on Marcus's birthday night, Kevin personally cooked a few dishes for his brother. But he knew you were watching him and didn't dare meet his brother easily, so he had me deliver it." "Where?" Ethan asked impatiently. 227 Bayside Drive. It's a lounge. "Oh, right, the owner of that lounge is named Leo Bishop. He and Marcus are probably close. If Marcus had anything to tell Kevin, Leo would come to the grill to pass on the message. This Marcus is certainly cautious." Ethan muttered, then stepped aside and took out his phone to call Jax. "Bring your gear. We've got work to do." Next, he called Milo. "Check out 227 Bayside Drive and a guy named Leo Bishop. Fast." After hanging up, since he still had to wait for Jax, Ethan didn't leave immediately but stayed outside the emergency room with Tina. About 10 minutes later, the attending physician walked out of the ER, his eyes downcast, and shook his head. Tina and Sarah couldn't accept it. They clung to each other, sobbing uncontrollably. Ethan's expression was grave. He asked the doctor, what exactly happened? Wasn't he recovering well just a couple of days ago? The doctor frowned. A sudden cerebral hemorrhage. Logically, the machines were always on. The probability of this happening is very low. Sigh, his injuries were just too severe. We really did everything we could." Ethan said nothing more. He turned and sat beside Tina, comforting her while saying, "Tina, add me on WhatsApp. I'll send you some money. Take care of your brother's funeral arrangements properly." Tina's eyes were red and swollen from crying. She sobbed, "Ethan, why are we 3 siblings so ill-fated? My eldest brother disappeared 10 years ago, and now my other brother." "Sob. You know, my grandpa was diagnosed with liver cancer 2 years ago. Last month's checkup, the doctor said he has 3 months at most. Sob. Soon I'll be all alone." Sarah wiped her tears, her mouth opening and closing as if she wanted to speak, but couldn't. A rope breaks at its thinnest point. Misfortune only seeks out the wretched. There's probably no hell in the world, because hell is right here on Earth. At 12 o'clock noon, Ethan and Benny met Jax at the hospital entrance. Together, they headed for 227 Bayside Drive. En route, Milo sent the information he had gathered. 227 Bayside Drive was a converted 2-story warehouse, now a lounge, but actually a hangout for a group of thugs. None of them were good news. Half had criminal records. Leo Bishop was their leader, had done time for manslaughter, 8 years, released a year early, 3 years ago. Bayside Drive was outside Loop 4, quite a distance from Port Sterling General, Metro Annex. It took them over an hour to reach their destination. After parking, Jax rolled down his window, launched a small drone, then opened his laptop and rubbed his hands together. "Let me see how many cameras they have." "Okay, you're clear to go in." Ethan and Benny immediately got out of the car. At the same time, inside the lounge, 2 young thugs were engrossed in a mobile game. Just as they reached a critical moment, the screen suddenly froze. "Damn, what happened to the signal? I don't have a signal either. Are we seeing ghosts in broad daylight? I don't have a signal either." Just as the men were bewildered, Ethan and Benny pushed open the door. The blonde thug behind the counter looked them up and down and said coolly, "Pool or drinks?" Ethan glanced sideways at the blonde. "Where's Leo Bishop?" he asked, his voice chilling. Hearing they were looking for Leo Bishop, 7 or 8 thugs in the main hall immediately moved towards Ethan and Benny. One of them, holding a pool cue, tilted his chin up, his expression arrogant. "Hey, who are you? What do you want with our boss, Bishop?" Ethan took a breath, turned, and closed the door. He then casually picked up a U-lock from the counter and locked the door with it. The blonde. "Are you fucking crazy? Shit. Looking for a beating, huh?" Ethan patted Benny's arm. Go easy on them, he said lightly. Benny stood holding two halves of a broken pool cue, an expression of mild dissatisfaction on his face. Before him, all 7 or 8 young thugs lay sprawled on the ground, each contorted in a mask of pain, groaning incessantly. The blonde kid from behind the counter hadn't even managed to rush out before Benny slapped him so hard he was seeing stars. Now, one hand braced against the wall, he stared at Benny as if he'd seen a ghost, his body trembling violently. Ethan tapped on the counter. Now, care to tell me where Leo Bishop is? The blonde, shaking like a leaf, saw the hulking, bull-strong man walking towards him and instantly abandoned any pretense of street honor. He raised a trembling hand and pointed towards the 2nd floor. He got wasted last night. Still sleeping. Benny stopped and turned toward the stairs. Don't be afraid, Ethan said with a faint smile, asking the blonde, do you know Marcus Chun? The blonde shook his head so vigorously it looked like a rattle. No, I don't know him. Ethan's smile vanished. He pulled out his phone and found Marcus Chun's photo in his gallery. Have you seen him? The blonde still shook his head. Never seen him. Ethan suddenly grabbed his hair, his gaze turning vicious. Really never seen him? The blonde was practically scared out of his wits. Really, I haven't, he whimpered. I have no reason to lie to you. Seeing that he didn't seem to be lying, Ethan didn't press him further and released his grip. A moment later, a woman's scream echoed from the 2nd floor, followed almost immediately by a man roaring, "Who the fuck are you?" The words had barely faded when a dull thud was heard. Shortly after, Benny emerged, dragging a man covered head to toe in dragon and tiger tattoos, wearing nothing but a pair of floral boxer shorts. The man was in his early 40s, with a fierce look, the type who'd get his ID checked by cops just walking down the street. Right now, the right side of his face was swollen, blood trickled from the corner of his mouth, and his permed hair was clutched in Benny's fist, making him look utterly wretched. Leo Bishop? Ethan asked. The man surveyed his underlings, who were scattered across the hall, groaning in agony. His eyes instantly filled with terror. A little while ago, half asleep, he had vaguely heard sounds of fighting from downstairs and had assumed his young punks were just messing around. He never imagined his den was being raided. I'm Leo Bishop. Brother, who are you with? I haven't pissed anyone off lately. Ethan didn't waste words. Where's Marcus Chun? He asked directly. Leo Bishop frowned, confused. Who's Marcus Chun? Ethan's lips curved into a slight smile. He glanced at Benny. Benny immediately raised the half-pool cue in his hand and brought it down hard on Leo Bishop's shoulder. The force was so great that the already broken cue snapped again. Ah! Leo Bishop's face contorted in pain. He hunched his neck and yelled, I really don't know any Marcus Chun. Benny pried open his mouth with one hand, while the other reached in and brutally yanked out a front tooth. Keep quiet, he growled, and I'll beat the shit out of you through your own mouth. Leo Bishop was in so much pain that tears welled in his eyes. His mouth full of blood, he mumbled incoherently. I don't know, what do you want me to say? Who the hell is Marcus Chun? Ethan said dismissively, tough talker. Let's see if your body's as tough. Brother, I really don't know. Leo Bishop cried. At least give me a hint, please. Ethan, all right. Chen's Eatery. You've been there, right? Leo Bishop paused. Isn't he Kevin Chun? Hey, you got the wrong guy, brother. His name's not Marcus, it's Kevin Chun. I know where he is. He got beaten up a while ago. He's at Port Sterling General, Metro Annex now. Ethan, not planning to talk straight, huh? Ever wonder how I found you here? Leo Bishop stammered nervously. His name really is Kevin Chun. He has a sister, Tina Chun. I'm confused too. You guys are looking for him. Why come to me? I had some beef with him, but you don't look like you're here to teach me a lesson for them. What? What the hell is going on? Ethan suddenly found this odd. After a moment's thought, he raised his hand to stop Benny, who was about to string Leo Bishop up upside down. Leo Bishop, you just said you had beef with Kevin Chun. What kind of beef? Leo Bishop, trembling, spat out a mouthful of blood and said, It was because of Tina Chun, wasn't it? That old. I mean, I thought she looked good, wanted to be friend with her. But she didn't appreciate it, even slapped me in public. So I roughed up her and her brother, scared them into giving me money. Otherwise, I caused trouble for them every day. But then, Kevin had his accident, so I stopped bothering them. A couple of days ago, I went to the hospital and happened to run into Tina. We barely exchanged a few words before that sister-in-law of hers started yelling about calling the cops. So I ran. The more Ethan thought about it, the more something felt wrong. His expression grew increasingly grave. He told Benny, watch them, then hurried out of the lounge. He had to walk all the way to the G-Wagon before his phone got a signal. He immediately called Tina. Ethan. Tina was still crying. Tina, is your sister-in-law there? Ethan asked. Tina replied, no. Didn't she go to contact the funeral home earlier? She hasn't come back yet. I just called. Her phone's off, probably out of battery. When Sarah said she was going to contact the funeral home, Ethan was still at the hospital waiting for Jax. Calculating the time, more than 2 hours had passed. Most crucially, Sarah's phone was off. This woman is shady. Ethan immediately hung up and said to Jax in the car, track Sarah Chen's location. Jax had managed to hack into Sarah's phone earlier, so tracking her location wasn't difficult. However, with Sarah's phone currently off, not even a miracle worker could find her. Oh my God, her phone must be off. Can't find her. Ethan's mind was in a whirl. He couldn't understand why Sarah would lie to him. Even if Kevin had lied, he could understand. But for Sarah, who had only been married for a little over a year and had only met Marcus once, there was absolutely no reason to cover for Marcus. Was there? What was the trickery here? Ethan forced himself to calm down. Images of Sarah's face flashed through his mind. Suddenly, he focused on her eyes. Those eyes, they felt familiar, like he'd seen them somewhere before. Recalling Leo Bishop's words, thinking about the old man dying of cancer, remembering Kevin's various unnatural reactions whenever he saw him. Suddenly, a terrible suspicion bloomed in his mind. Just then, Jax exclaimed, holy shit. I checked her phone number. She bought a ticket to Seoul 2 hours ago. The plane took off 10 minutes ago. A flight to Seoul. Ethan took a deep breath. He scrolled through his phone contacts, found the number saved as Finn, hesitated for a moment, then dialed. 1 hour ago, Seoul, Sindaram-dong, a church. Since it wasn't the weekend, the church was empty except for a devout priest sitting solemnly before the statue of Jesus, a thick Bible in his hands, silently reciting. A woman with a red hair clip walked into the church, closed the door, and scanned the room, her gaze finally settling on the priest. Finn, the woman called out. Her face, stretched taut from too much plastic surgery, was grim as she strode towards him. You're giving me half of that house. You hear me? The priest slowly closed his Bible, placed it on a nearby table, and only then turned around. His handsome, distinctly Korean face was devoid of expression. He blinked slowly, his voice calm. You were the one who cheated. Why should you get half? The woman was indignant. Look at you. Can't cry, can't laugh. Always wearing that poker face like a robot. Who could live with you? The priest nodded. So I don't really blame you. I also agreed to the divorce and to give you some money. But that house was an inheritance from my mother. You can't touch it. The woman was arrogant. Then I'll see you in court. You know, my boyfriend is a prosecutor. The priest remained expressionless. Must it be this way? The woman sneered. You brought this on yourself. I suggest you listen to me. Sell the house. Give me half. The priest slowly raised his left hand, gripping the cross hanging on his chest, gently rubbing it with his thumb and forefinger. After a moment, he extended his right hand and made the sign of the cross before him. 1 hour later, in the garden behind the church, the priest was shoveling dirt when his cell phone suddenly rang. When he saw who was calling, although his face remained expressionless, his eyes showed a hint of surprise. He paused for a moment, then answered the phone, speaking in heavily accented but comprehensible English. Boss, what's up? Ethan, on the other end, said, I need you to do something. Intercept someone at Incheon Airport in Seoul. Jax is sending you the flight information now. The priest acknowledged, his voice flat. Take her out, or bring her back to you. Ethan, find a place to lock her up. I'm on the next flight to Seoul. You're married. Suddenly coming to Port Sterling would be hard to explain to your wife. The priest looked down at the red hair clip lying near his feet, then gently kicked it into the pit in front of him. I'm divorced, he said, his face still blank. He paused, then added, just now. Ethan,